We are moving forward. This is going to be a little bit, I don't think it'll be that much different, but I think I want to say what I'm doing is still glued to the Spellslinger thing.
Okay.
Even though I think it's just an introductory concept to something that I think is more expansive, that you can go further with it and not actually have to hem yourself in with doing Spellslinger.
Oh, like this is an approach to Spellslinger, but could also be applicable to
a whole battery of things,
other
actually.
card types or archetypes.
So we've, to summarize like we do, or to catch people up who skip episodes because they don't love us. We are talking about Spellslinger. We already talked about the division of what I think about when I'm constructing a Spellslinger deck of, does this deck care about quality or quantity, right? So we divided that into quantity is a school of low mana value, the College of Low Mana Value, where it's not so much the quality of the spells I really care about, it's the quantity of them.
Mm-hmm.
And the two effects that I think are most important when we discuss this, and maybe a distant, or not distant, but close third would be, card draw, mana coming from those instants and sorceries like ritual effects, and then cheap removal, cheap pinpoint effective removal.
Yeah.
When you move to the other side, you want quality. So you're drawing one card is not quality when you're using something at the altitude of 5 mana or 4 mana. You want a little bit more than that. So cards like Prophetic Bolt that allow you to deal 4 damage to something and get the best of the next however many cards out of your libraries is when you start seeing stuff like that, where you're getting multiple things from one resolution of a spell. Instead of just counter spell, you want something more like, I don't know, spell swindle. Like I'm going to counter the spell and get that many treasures. Because you can't afford a mana drain or something. I don't know. Right? Like that's the shift, is moving from frequency of spells to caliber of spells.
Yeah.
Right. Then we moved on and we talked about really just kind of something that I think is unique to Spellslinger, is that you can play in different stances or different, somebody suggested in the Discord, fields of study, right? Like one's the Bachelor in Arts and one's the Bachelor in Science.
There we go.
Really, like, not to break the theme up too much and really be more direct about what we're talking about is, so the first version, like let's just take it very slow, I guess. You want to resolve a lot of spells during your turn. What is the point of waiting?
Yeah.
You're rewarded if you just draw through your library on your turn, keep producing mana back into your mana pool, and you've got Vivi just hammering people's life totals and picking up his counters so you can use that to do more of them.
Right.
You know? So that is, what me and Kyle say is playing on the front foot. You're being proactive, not reactive. You're setting the tempo for the game. You're executing on your turn. That is most games of Commander, every deck, nearly. They all are doing this, I think. Precons that you purchase, they're not really set up to not do this. They're just like play on curve, you'll hear people say. Just 4/4 for 4, or questing beast on 4, and cultivate on 3, and ponder on 1. Like you're not waiting to see how much information will come out of your opponent's hands, because you don't have any reason to wait. You can just do your thing.
Yeah.
That was that episode.
Yeah.
This episode will be, I think, the opposite of that, which is trying to find a space where you can exist in the game where you're not doing a lot of this stuff on your turn, like just said simply, and squeezing yourself into a space that really this style of deck, I think, likes to do, right? The word instant is that you have the freedom to cast it nearly whenever.
Yeah.
Where creatures have to have this keyword on them to do it, or some enchantments have to have that same keyword, or you need to get another permanent that opens that up. It's so strong that if anyone listening to this remembers, there was a time period where Videlkin Orrery was put into almost every deck back then. It might have just been JLK kind of setting the culture for everybody back then, but
sure.
It was a popular, expensive card. It's strong. It's strong, especially in multiplayer, because a lot of information is unseen to you, and you could introduce your permanents and problems into my solutions. So if I have a board wipe and Kyle empties his hand of creatures, now I have the most amount of information about Kyle, and it's time to use the board wipe. But if the reverse is true and he has no board
Mhm.
And right before his turn begins, after Tiff, he empties his hand of creatures. My board wipe is stuck in my hand and he gets a whole turn with them.
Yeah, it's true.
So that kind of shows you what that is.
Yeah. I'd like to hold on that a little bit. The idea of like the exposure of information. There's a lot of value in that in this game, especially when you're playing with really entrenched, experienced players.
Yeah. Yeah. On stack interaction is what CEDH, I think, cares about the most. And
Sure.
that's because of this type of stuff, is that, you know, they have a narrow set of combos and things like that they want to do. Some of them are fringy, but a lot of them are using some combination of blue and black cards to win out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
And so the best place to do that with as little interference as possible is at instant speed on the stack. So anything that has flash or instant is already valued higher the further up the power scale you creep. I think power shifts though. I think you start kind of transferring yourself to a different island of what is powerful
Sure.
out there. Maybe speed is more characteristic of what's going on.
Yeah.
In terms of when it happens in the course of the game and where it happens in the course of the game, instant speed and earlier turns. Because I can't tell you that like what happens in some bracket 2 games isn't powerful. It's a lot of damage. It's big, explosive, crazy plays.
Sure.
It's just that the game probably would have resolved itself earlier in a higher bucket.
Yeah.
You know, so it's valued higher up there. So like one of the things that we would do when we were comboing back a few years ago, when 2-card infinites and things like that were rampant in our meta, would be you don't really just play Ashnod's Altar on 3. You have like the components you need, and then you introduce Ashnod's Altar to it. And really, short of like someone countering that spell, which Swan Song won't, you would get it in. And then because it's a mana ability, it doesn't infer anything onto the stack. Like there's no way to stop it. Not even a Krosan grip can stop you from adding the mana to the mana pool.
Yeah.
So it was a really strong card in our meta because it did a lot of the things that are hard to interact with. Zone changing, mana abilities that don't interact with the stack, and it's a fairly low mana component. It's only 3 mana. But you wouldn't just put it out on 3 and go, okay, pass.
Yeah. There would be these games where with my Tashar deck where you'd be like, that he's got like a junk diver and there's an egg.
Yeah.
And what else? If he gets the fucking Ashnod's Altar, does he have it?
Does he have it or
you know,
not?
like, and just trying to piece together, because I'm not going to play the Ashnod's Altar
exactly
until it's time to go.
Yeah, and if you ever did, it just get bricked. I'd be like, well, I don't know where you're going, but I know that one ain't.
I know that ain't helping me.
Yeah, so it just simplifies it for me. This is, I guess, I'm just trying to speak to the strength of this whole idea of playing at instant speed, and I wish I could just say, well, just put more instants in your deck. I wish I could do that, but some good cards are just, they're good for your strategy, dear listener, and they ain't an instant. So instead, what my focus will be here on this episode is just to get the listener thinking about playing on that level of the game, right? Playing right before their turn begins instead of anywhere else, right?
Yeah.
And let's just think of this as practice and explanation. And then maybe if they get used to that style of play, then they can feed it into their other decks. So this isn't going to be a list of the best instants in the game or whatever. It's we are going to deliberately pursue a place where we will have to, honestly, with restraint, put ourselves there and see how it goes. And after a while, my hope is that what I've demonstrated here will be, okay, well, I value this. I might keep this deck that Andy has talked about, or I'm going to take some of my learnings from it and weave it into these other decks to see how it goes.
Yeah.
I want to tell a story though, really quick, because I think it's a cool one and I think it's a little like relevant to this, and then I'll get into it.
Okay.
It's a bit of a deviation or a tangent is what people call it. So in 1968, there was a competition to sail the world.
Okay.
However, the rules were you couldn't park anywhere, couldn't do a port call anywhere. You had to be alone. It was a one-man boat.
Okay.
And you had to do it in a specific time period between October 31st and I think you needed to return by 1970 before the end of spring. So it was a bit of a race. And you had to leave by a certain day and you had to return by a certain day. Because otherwise, like, it just doesn't count, I guess.
Sure,
I don't know. I'm not a sailman. But to put things into perspective, in 1968, not 1970, 1969, we weren't even on the moon yet. There was no GPS. There was radio communication, like ham radio style stuff. But
sure.
basically, when you leave the port and when you start going into like the deeper parts of the ocean, you're on your own essentially.
Get out your fucking compass and start
like
charting your path.
A lot of these guys back then, they did that. They did star charts. They would use the stars to like read where they were headed.
Yeah.
It's really terrifying when you wind things back and think about oceanic travel. When you when you basically get to this stage of it where no one knows where I am right now. Even if you have a good sense of where you are, nobody knows no one can find you.
This is why you see in a lot of early empires, even when they had a fleet, they'd stay close to the coastline.
Yeah.
You know, like they're just bumping along like in the Mediterranean, and then they'd come back and they'd dock at nighttime.
Right.
Like they'd pull into shore because it's so terrifying to be at sea.
And it still was in 1968 to do this, especially if you're on your own on a little boat by yourself. Yeah. Right. So you got to be comfortable being alone. You got to be comfortable with everything that the ocean's going to throw at you. So the place they would leave would be England. The track they were supposed to do is go down the Atlantic and then do the worst place in the world to sail, which is the Southern Ocean, because that's the only way you can circumvent it.
Well, yeah,
and then come back up.
Both around South Africa and South America is really treacherous, right?
Yeah. Like, dear listener, they call it the Roaring 40s is what they call it, because it's the 40th degree.
Yeah.
And it's just madness down there. Like, it is, you know, like you can read this book called The Mutiny on the Bounty, where these are like some of the most experienced sailors in the world trying to overcome it. And they had to give up and go the other way, to go the long way. So the competition kicks off. The prize, I think, if you adjust it for inflation, would be somewhere around $100,000 today. So it's not nothing, but it's quite a bit.
Yeah.
The first guy that leaves, he leaves the earliest, is some Indian dude named, I had to write it down because I had to remember these names that mattered. His name was Knox Johnston.
Okay.
He had sailed a crazy trip before. He had sailed from India to England already on his own in his like weird little boat.
Oh, okay.
It was made of wood. It was actually made of like Indian teak. He knew this thing. Like it was from his, like, he had sailed with this thing all over the place.
Sure.
But, you know, from the outside, this boat looks pretty wild and pretty rickety. He takes off and everything's going fine until he starts approaching the Southern Ocean. And all of a sudden he notices there's like a split on his hull, right? Like there's this place where the hull is split and water is coming into his boat like mad.
No.
He puts some dark clothing on, I guess, it's to avoid sharks. I guess if you're bright, they'll see you.
Oh.
And starts working on the side of this boat, like pasting it over with this crazy, I'm not a sailman person, but it's like a type of sap that a lot of these guys use to repair boats when they're made of wood. At one point he capsizes. The whole thing fucking flips over.
Me?
Yeah. It's somewhere off the as you got past Africa. But the story about this guy is that every time something came up, he had the tools to deal with it. He had a ton of spare screws, tons of scraps of like masts, like tons of
like whatever this resin
just
type
whatever
stuff
this
is,
resin
or...
stuff. He had like gallons of this stuff, right?
Okay.
Like on his boat. So he would spend his days just repairing his boat, fixing things as they came up over and over and over again. That's his thing. So he's off. Next guy leaves, and the dude leaves almost too late, like way, way too late. The next dude in our story. They're not chronological. I'm just listing off their methodologies of how they handle this sailing trip. The dude is really into high technology radio stuff. That's like his thing. He can triangulate where he's at. He's got all of these very highly specialized, specific radios in his boat. And his boat was I think it's called a trimaran, I think is what it is. Again, I'm not a sailor person. But essentially it's a hull and then those two arms that like kind of stick out on the sides, right?
Yeah.
So it can cut through fast. Like it's a fast fucking boat with minimal sized sails. However, it has a fatal problem. If it ever flips over, it ain't coming back up. Most of these other boats, they're kind of designed to like handle a roll or two, weirdly. Yeah. I think it's like a death sentence.
Even to this day, like a lot of them are built to roll.
Yeah, this is not. So he devises this system where there's like a airbag that'll blow up on the sail if it gets flipped over, and then another system that'll pull water into another bladder on the bottom to like right side it.
Okay.
Gets installed incorrectly and doesn't work. Spoilers.
No.
So he makes it down to the bottom of the Atlantic Ocean. Remember, they're leaving from England, and he's already running into trouble. Apparently, there's a device, and I should have looked this up, but It's a device that helps you stay on course without you having to be at the helm all the time. It's like a rigging of ropes, and it's a very actual simple machine that's been around for forever, but it is like essential for sailing, essentially, if you're going to do long distance stuff. Otherwise, all of your time will have to be steering the fucking thing. Like you have to be able to step away and take a shit or two or go to bed.
Right.
Especially for something that's going to be months long. Well, it was rigged wrong on his boat, and therefore it was like creating some kind of insane vibration, and it was shaking itself to bits. So he starts cannibalizing screws from all over his boat and realizes very quickly that he can't do this forever. He'll eventually have to start pulling stuff apart that shouldn't be pulled apart. So he starts to just go around in circles in the Atlantic and make call outs because they're supposed to call out where they're at. He uses his radio equipment to make it look like he's moving along in the race where he's not. So he'll come up on the radio and be like super cheerful and act like he's on course, right? When he's totally not. Like he's basically just doing circles. He's loitering. At one point, he actually lands in Argentina, sneaks ashore to get supplies, probably some fucking screws and some other stuff, and gets them on his boat. You following me with this one?
Yeah.
The third guy that leaves, or the third guy in our story, was a dude from France. His name's like Matissier. He has a steel boat. He made his boat from metal. He left pretty late because he spent an enormous amount of time doing like a paint job on this thing, like over and over and over again. All these like different zinc oxide, water resistant
because the
stuff.
ocean's corrosive.
Because the ocean's going to corrode it, right? But he was like, I want a metal hull. I don't want to jump in the ocean. I don't want to get whatever, right? He even tears out all of the electronics from his boat. No electronics.
Oh, interesting.
It's only like gas lantern, gas everything, right? If he's going to read at night, it's going to be...
He's like, I'm not repairing shit.
He built steps on his mast so he could easily climb up to the mast and fix it if he needed to. He'd not have to scramble, and he made it super easy to get everywhere on his fucking boat.
Yeah.
Race goes on. The first dude that we mentioned actually makes it back first. The little Indian kid who was like 27 or something makes it back. He survived because he was prepared for anything that came at it, and he dealt with it as it showed itself.
Sure.
If something broke, he went after it. Every single day he went at it. The second guy never makes it back. He in fact kills himself in the middle of the ocean. When they find his body 9 days later in his boat, right? Or not his boat, they find his boat. He just walked off and just dove into the ocean. They find his logs. And to this day, apparently, psychologists use this as an example of someone losing their mind. He had cheated his way into this competition. He knew that people were going to check his logs that he was faking, like his navigation logs. And apparently you just can't fake them.
Right.
And, he was in debt. He like put himself into debt to do this with all these stupid radio things that he had on his boat, which by the way, all of them failed. Water got in and fried them all. And he kills himself. Like you can see him just descending into madness over these logs.
Whoa.
Because of his utter lack of preparation and respect for what he was about to do.
Yeah.
The third guy never comes back either because he doesn't want to. They check his logs. He ends up in Tahiti like a year and a half later because he's just out of stuff to do. He got bored at sea. He said he didn't want to return to the snake pit that was Europe. He's like, I'm going to stay at sea to save myself and to save my soul.
Whoa.
Because he had put a simple plan together that the boat would just basically be immortal. It was simple. He had what he needed. At one point, he was throwing food overboard earlier in the race because he was like, I'm going to get there before these other guys, because he was moving really fast. He's like, I'll just get rid of this food because I don't need to be out here. And then he got all the way to the Atlantic Ocean and decided, no, I'm just going to keep going. So that you see him and he goes around and around and around a bunch of times and then just ends up in Tahiti and writes a book. And to this day, I guess it's one of like the really well-respected sailor books is this dude's story because of his preparation. Why this matters for Draw Go, right? Every time you engage in something like this, where you don't actively take advantage of what is available to you, you time walk yourself, I guess, is the biggest threat of doing something like this. I have caught myself doing it more times than I can count. I am a extremely nervous control-y player. And one of the things that'll happen to me is I anticipate some disaster that either doesn't happen or I don't have the tool to deal with it, right? So for whatever reason, the dude in the second boat thought that radios were going to save him.
Yeah.
Right? The first guy just packed everything he could into the boat. And then the last guy was like, I'm just going to make this one thing work and that's that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wish we could be that dude, the third guy in our journey today, but really we should look at this first guy and be like, what could happen and how can we be ready for it as we pass our turn? Because what we're doing here is we're leaving into the ocean of turns that ain't ours. Like your turn, Kyle, is going to be a storm for me. Brad's turn is going to be a storm for me. And so is Tiff's. And if I'm just not doing anything on my turn over turn over turn, I'm falling behind fast.
And this is what you mean by time walk. Like you have mana up because you don't have the deck built to be playing on primarily on your turn. You're leaving mana up, but you might not necessarily use it because, so like an example that I think of for myself, right? Like when I built my Miss Bumbleflower deck to be something I'm mostly playing draw go. Right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to have even my ramp spells for as much as I could be things I could play on other people's turns if I draw it later in game. So like Harrow's the really good example, right?
Yeah.
Where, okay, I might need to use a fog spell if Andy attacks me, but if he doesn't, I can just cast this Harrow and still do my thing, right? Like
it's perfect. It's like a perfect example, right? Like that's an amazing thing that we should lean on.
But if I didn't have that Harrow in my deck, I'm holding up mana expecting Andy to attack me and I don't use that fog. And so I just kept that mana up for
nothing happened.
Like that's kind of the time walk thing that you're talking about.
Exactly.
Happens to instant speed players often.
Exactly. So is this strong gameplay? Yet over time it does become strong because what's happening is you're holding all the information in your hand and what they've been putting to the board is more and more vulnerable to your solutions if they're the right ones. So like one of the more infamous spells, I think, as of late is Ink Shield.
Yeah.
Right? It's 5 mana. You block a combat, and for how much damage you would take, you make that many 2/1 flyers. So you more than double the capacity for damage right back at them. You have a bunch of tokens that if the deck is set up to see tokens, we'll see this. You have a bunch of clamp compliant targets that you can convert into draw. And this is after you slam them right back and possibly lethal them.
Yeah.
But it's the right card at the right time kind of thing. There are times where it's like on your turn, you spend all your mana and you only have 4 or you only have 2 or something like this. So what is disastrous is you think a combat's coming your way. You have plenty of cards in your hand that you could put to field, even something as simple as like a draw spell or a ramp card or something, or even recast your commander from zone.
Yeah.
But instead you make the bet, and you leave port with all this mana open and it just doesn't happen. Like it's not useful this turn. So you pack up your boat full of radio equipment and I never come at you. And that's that. It's not going to help. You've just done nothing.
Yeah.
And so we go to the next turn and you're like, okay, well now the threat probably has grown. You didn't board wipe me. You didn't undo anything. The threat has probably grown if nobody's dealt with whatever is going on. So how long before it's too late? See what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Or I'm developing stuff that it doesn't have anything to do with attacking you. Like it's some ambient damage aristocrats thing, God forbid.
Sure.
So that's, I think, the danger that exists when you're engaging in this footing of play.
Yeah. Okay.
That's to just be thought of at all times. So I think there's a way to go about it where you have simplified things as much as you can, like the steelboat guy. You're ready for anything as much as you can, like the Indian kid. He was like, when I was reading his story, I'm like, does this guy have a plan or was that the plan? It was just like, well, that's busted. I'm going to fix it. Okay, good thing I got this goo. Or I'm just going to jump in the ocean. Like it wasn't peaceful at all. The dude made it back. By the way, I should say this part of the story. That dude got the prize money and he gave it to the wife and kids of the crazy guy who killed himself.
Whoa.
That just kind of tells you the caliber of these guys, man. One guy's like, I don't need the money. I'm not coming back. And the other guy's like, I don't need the money. I'll just give it to this cheater's family. Isn't that wild?
That is pretty wild.
He got knighted though. So let's talk about Greyfax. Inquisitor Greyfax is like our starting, or as our starting deck. I wouldn't think this is a Spellslinger deck, but maybe this will snap into focus for people because I can relate it back to our last episode. 1 white, blue, and a black for a 3/3. It's a legendary creature, human Inquisitor with vigilance, unquestionable wisdom. Other creatures you control have get +1/+0 and have vigilance. And then it has Hunt for Heresy. 1 tap target creature an opponent controls, investigate. So I'm going to stay on this for this entire episode. I don't think that this is necessary to do, instant speed, draw, go, back foot style play, but I'm going to use it as a way for anybody listening to this who hasn't engaged in it as an easier route to play it. What I value about this commander is that last line. You can pay 1 mana, tap something, and create a token, specifically a clue.
Which also has
an activation, which is draw a card.
Yeah.
So this will just call a pressure valve or an escape route. So I can't really walk myself too bad. I can't really fuck myself too bad if I can step away from the disaster of nothing is relevant right now.
Yeah.
With an activated ability. So almost every commander I think all of the commanders I'm talking about today have an activated ability strapped to them of something that we can do. If you do not draw your constellation of cards that matter, you have something in the zone. This is why I think Thrasios is so good for this type of thing. Also, like it's a one hell of an activation. It's 4 mana. You reveal a land, you ramp, or you draw it. Like you can't lose. But if you're all the way on the back foot, this is perfect for you.
Mm-hmm.
Where, well, I didn't need to do my Aetherize or my Ink Shield, or I didn't need to Beast Within anything. I didn't need to do anything. So you're really like overheating things for too long, and that's what these are. They're like heat sinks to just like, okay, I'm gonna let some pressure off and do something.
Yeah.
And the longer the game goes, especially with Thrasios, because it's not a tap ability, the more potent it gets. When you have 8 mana, you're like, well, I'm just going to sink it all and roll again. So we have some of this here. Over time, she kind of starts to look like Thrasios if you're not putting the tokens to work.
Sure.
Or somewhere in the middle, you're doing both. You're like, all right, I'll use 3 to tap Kyle's creature, and then I'll just use the other 2 to sack the token and put the card in my hand.
Yeah.
Right? I'm starting with this one because we're just going to relate it directly to another deck that we talked about on the last episode, which was Spellslinger. Because of her top line, right?
Yeah.
She's like, hey, I'm going to give everything you've got +1 and vigilance, which is extreme. So if we look through the list, a lot of those cards are there, but none of the sorceries are. So every one of these happens at instant speed.
Okay.
I can walk through them like if you'd like. There's 19 of them. 19 spells that in some way, shape, or form make a token at instant speed. And they are like a sorcery they're an instant. So you're confronted by robbers. 4 and a white, you can stall for time and tap 3 target creatures or create 3 white soldier creature tokens. Not a great rate, but it's at instant. So if nothing happens, if Kyle has nothing to say to me during my turn, I can make the choice of activating her ability, which by the way, like you can kind of figure out if they're going to attack you with a big and just tap it before it happens.
Oh, totally.
Or eventually do both. If I've got 5 mana, I can do the tap, throw these guys out, and now they're 2/1s with vigilance, right? Or do the tap phase, right?
Sure.
Rally the Monastery, we talked about that one in the last episode. You make the 2 monks, or you up to 2 target creatures get +2/+2, or you can destroy target creature of power 4 or greater. Access Denied is a counter spell that just makes you a bunch of Thopters. So this is like a Ink Shield equivalent for a spell in her regard. Like she makes 2/1 flying vigilant versions of these. Call the Coppercoats is fucking wild.
Always
Secure the Wastes. White Sun Zenith is here because you could get another crack at it potentially. It's more of a late game one. We see Benevolent Offering again. Non-instant or sorcery stuff. I've got the Shorekai Genesis Engine here. It's another one you could probably do a deck like this around if you wanted a Sands Black, but it's an activated ability that lets you draw 2, discard 1, and it gives you a pilot, which with Greyfax around, it's a 2/1, right?
Yeah.
Another body for our attacks, right? To stay on the front foot, we have Unstoppable Plan that untaps all of our non-land permanents at the beginning of our end step. So you can exhaust what you want out of your artifacts, even probably use Greyfax if you want, and then let it go and then pop back. It's pretty good for this. Like if you don't have the game changer that is Seaborn Muse.
Sure.
Which we'll just say that right now. Seaborn Muse is fucking insane with these types of decks. Because it marries the footing together. Now you can just be flippant with whatever you're going to do.
True.
You can Thrasios every turn. You could Greyfax every turn if you had the colors to fit them all together. Mm-hmm. It gets really wild. It goes from draw go to just I draw I'm just God. Like you just go off. It's incredible. The protection is designed around the same thing, right? Ink Shield is here, but also is Rewind and Unwind. I don't usually use these spells, but this is the right place for them because they let you to counter a spell and untap your lands. Because what is your hand full of? More instants and sorceries. Right. And minimally, you have a creature to activate in your command zone. So you want the options available to you. In other decks, I don't find them too great because you're likely trying to do stuff on your own turn. So when do you do it with an unwind or a rewind?
You might do an unwind, but going up to 4 mana of a rewind feels like a big ass.
Yeah, this is exactly where you want to be. The removal makes tokens as well, as best as I could fit it. So stuff like Valiant Endeavor, right? It's a sorcery, but you roll a d2, you choose one result, destroy each creature with power greater than that result, and make that many 2/2 knights. Elspeth's Son's Champions here. Release to memories an instant. Exile target opponent's graveyard. For each creature card in that was exiled this way, create a 1/1 colorless spirit creature token. God, can you imagine if I had that last game with how full you made everyone's yards? Hey, Zach, drop your yard. You'd probably exile his yard in response to stop me from getting this. Zat's Will is back again for this, right? Perplexing Test is a really good one-sided board wipe at instant speed to say, hey, return all non-tokens to everyone's hands right before your turn starts.
So you can choose token or non-token.
Correct. You'd say, I'm going to say non-token. Yeah, sorry. I'd say non-token, and you're like bouncing a card for you.
Sure.
And for everybody else, it's likely to be a lot more.
Yeah.
Espers to Magicite, 4 mana. Exile each opponent's graveyard. Then when you do, choose up to 1 target creature card exiled this way. Create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's an artifact and loses all other card types. It's fucking incredible.
It's awesome.
All graveyards are cooked, and you get a copy of the best one that is also vigilance and +1 because they're just statically there with your commander. So you're kind of seeing how simple the deck is. It's like, I'm going to make tokens using removal. I'm going to make tokens right before my turn begins. So my board state isn't really very readable.
Yeah.
Like no one really kind of has a good clock on how much damage I can output. And just over time, I'm going to build my way up there. And then, like pick your win con. You do want to drain everyone out with an aristocrat effect, you could do that. Or you can Akruma's Will into everybody. You see?
Yeah.
Or drop creatures you control have double strike and lifelink. Like that's probably enough to really push yourself up. But the thing you're doing is just trying to keep up with the tempo of the game by not doing anything on your turn. And if it helps you, just say, this is how my creatures have haste, I guess, in Esper. Rather than going out of your way and doing a crashing drawbridge, like you just get it before your turn and it's out of reach of people's traditional removal. I mean, they can always counter a spell.
Sure.
But you can see the difference. This is different than the Mardu one. The Mardu one's like, I want to attack and expose more cards to the hand. I want to attack and force people to block and then therefore they lose life. It's the crash out aristocrats thing.
Yeah.
Like that's what that is. Where this is similar. It's using black-white identity. But instead, it's like, well, I'm going to have a different commander who likes tokens.
Yeah.
But also has an escape route if I'm holding up mana. I really don't need to do it all.
Yeah. And I'll say like, I mean, you pointed out, I think with one of your first examples of you're confronted by robbers where you're like, yeah, there's cards that have better rates. But I think this is something that's worth thinking about when you're playing on this back foot is, the design of the game appropriately adds cost to being able to do things at instant speed.
Yes.
And so, you don't quite get as much oftentimes from those things, but
because it's better at instant speed.
Exactly.
It just is.
It is.
So you really are getting what you pay for.
Yeah. So it's like, okay, that lack of exposure or the fact like the example you just brought up, instead of having to program into my deck a bunch of ways to give my creatures haste, I'm just doing this, having this pseudo haste by putting them in right before my turn. And now that's a whole package of cards I don't have to have in my deck. Okay, I'm willing to pay an extra mana per spell to get the same rate of tokens in order to have that flexibility and that capacity.
Yeah. I think it's a good way to simply start here.
Yeah.
We already talked about a deck. Token Slinger is powerful. You could start working in like copying abilities and stuff like that. But this kind of leads us to our next problem, which is what I would like to call the window. So eventually, your opponents are going to get wise. They're going to figure out that like you holding up your mana doesn't actually mean you're impotent. It's kind of a joke at our meta is like people go, why does Andy have 4 mana up? And I go, what do you think? I'm impotent or something? Like I can get hard right now is what I'm trying to say. I can get hard right fucking now. You just got to say some stuff to get me
You want
there.
me to get hard? I can get hard. I'll show you hard.
Yeah. So it won't take a Sherlock Holmes to figure out what is going on with this deck as the game progresses. So it becomes difficult in my experience, it becomes difficult to squeeze proactive strategies into a deck. Like the more instants you have, the more escape routes you have, the more spare screws you have, the more patches for your sail you have. But if you're dialed in on one thing and that can happen all because of like one card. Mm-hmm. So like something like Swarm Intelligence would be incredible in this deck. The problem is you would have to blow your turn to do it. And now you're off your back foot and the wave's going to hit you. It wouldn't take Kyle would go, he's tapped out. Let's fucking go for it. Like, yes. He's clearly open. So really another defense that you have that you might not know is the implicit defense of your lands are open. Like you're untapped. People might not do fucking anything. You might actually start time walking them a little bit because they're nervous about what you'll do. Yeah. Or they'll try to do suboptimal plays or sequence things to try to bait something from you. Yeah. It gets really heady really fast.
It does.
But if you knock your mana down and you don't have a Fierce Guardianship, that's like, why do you think the card is $70, folks? It's because you can play aggressively and have a passive way to stop it. That's why it's an expensive card. I know it's because it's 0 mana, but instead of just saying it's a 0 mana counterspell, what I'm doing now is characterizing why that is even even matters. It's because I can play proactively and reactively at the same time, which is just powerful.
Yeah, I mean,
it's just powerful.
Most decks, it's really hard to be in a position to be both until the late game.
Yeah,
is
because your mana allows you to be.
Yeah, exactly, because your mana allows you to be, right? So like you can put in, so for example, like in your deck you have Company Commander here, right? Which is one of those like non-instant speed things that you have. It's a really good card, so I understand why it's here.
Yeah.
Because it says when it enters, you create a number of 1/1 white soldier creature tokens equal to the number of opponents you have, and then it has Bring It Down, which is whenever Company Commander attacks, creatures you control have Death Touch until end of turn.
Right.
Really, really good, but
Death Touch Vigilance is a very annoying combination.
It's so awesome.
Yeah.
I totally get why it's here, but if Andy wants to be, like if you want to be, front foot, back foot with that card, well, you probably need to be at the point of the game where you've got 7 or 8 mana.
Exactly. You're exactly right.
So you can't do too much of this. Like that one, I totally get the exception being made here because it's a fucking really good card. But yeah, it really belies this notion of if you're going to be on the front foot, like most of it, or on the back foot, most of it needs to be geared towards that.
Yeah. And that's just my preference showing right there. It probably could just be like, what is it? The Stone Shaker Cavalry or whatever, where you control into a combo finish, which your combo is.
Sure.
You just have a bunch of larges that are there and they go.
Yeah.
Like you could go there too. But you're right. Like you need to find the window to resolve the stuff that gives you the initiative play, right? So stuff like this, I need to get in. I'm not doing any life total damage. I'm just sitting here for too long and I'm going to fall behind.
Yeah.
So you got to bring it to people eventually. This is my first example.
Sure.
Do you think it's simple?
I do, because
it's tokens at instant speed with a character that cares about tokens and has an activated ability.
Yeah, and I think the activated ability is a good way for people to think about. Like, it's not like you said, it's not the only way to allow yourself to be on the back foot, but it is a good way.
Yeah, I think it could be fine. The more instant speed token spells they make, like sorceries that just let us make, or instants that let us just shoot out tokens. If you like the deck, they just go right here.
Yeah.
Let's turn up the complication a little bit.
Okay.
Let's talk about Abuelo. This is pretty weird. Probably people didn't think these were just going to be Spellslinger commanders, but here we are. Abuelo Ancestral Echo. So you'll notice he has something similar to our last commander. 1, a white and a blue for a 2/2. It's a legendary spirit with flying and ward 2 for no fucking reason. You can pay 1, a white and a blue, exile another target creature or artifact you control, return it to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step. It probably wouldn't be too much for our listeners to figure out where I'm going with this. So we're not interested in making tokens here, obviously. What we're interested in is having this exit route that I think is very potent of flickering a creature before your turn starts. That's pretty strong. It is one of those like delayed ones where they're gone until end of turn. So they would dodge board wipes, I suppose, if they're very needing to go. An artifact also counts, by the way. So you could do something insane like the Phyrexian portal to Phyrexia if you were nuts. But again, that's 9 goddamn mana.
Sure.
And if you're trying to put yourself on the front foot, like, or back foot, I don't know where
that's a hard back foot card.
But it's still one hell of a spell. So what the fuck do I know? If we sort by types, just to kind of prove my proof of purchase with this, there's 23 creatures, which is a lot for a Spellslinger deck.
But you need something to target, right?
But there's 32 instants.
Yeah.
So what is demonstrated, I think, more keenly in this deck is the instants are more flexible. Where, what's Greyfax were like, okay, we care about making tokens. That's our thing. So either it needs to remove and make tokens, or it needs to make tokens on its own.
Yeah.
And then just stuff that we just kind of need. Where over here, we want flicker spells because the types of creatures we've chosen have impactful entered the battlefield triggers. But also we have spells that are just more flexible when they're cast. So like, I'll give you one that's a great example. Confounding Riddle. 2 in a blue. It's actually from the same set, funnily enough. 2 in a blue. Look at the top 4 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand and the rest in the bottom, or the rest into your graveyard. Or counter target spell unless its controller pays 4. Is this the best draw spell in the world? Hell no. Is this the best counter spell in the world? Hell no. But it's both of those things kind of together.
Yeah.
Remember that like we're on a boat and we need all the screws that we can get, spare or otherwise, and all of the weird tree sap goo for our boat. That's what this deck is looking like. So the first deck is like simple plans, simple flavors, microwave the bacon. We're going to never come back and go to Tahiti. All of my fucking analogies are collapsing in on themselves. Where this one is, it's a little jankier. I need Abuelo, I think, and I just want a creature that's good to flicker. And then if I don't find the need to do that, I have things that can either answer what I'm trying to do a little bit or let me escape. Because if you already have a counter spell in hand and Confounding Riddle really just converts itself into a draw spell.
Yeah.
Unless you're super tinfoil hat and you want to do both. Or, it starts looking like, oh, okay, well, I have Aether Channeler out, enough to activate Abuelo, or Confounding Riddle, or counter a spell. I'm well equipped to deal with whatever comes my way, pretty close to it. You see how this is like shaping up?
Yeah, absolutely.
So you've got Summon Yojimbo to flicker and nuke something, even though it's still end of turn. Scampering Surveyor and Solemn Simulacrum to just go pick up more lands, to deepen your footing where you can activate him more times and have more flexibility to move between the spells that are in your hand. Mold Drifter just to draw 2. Like you flicker the Mold Drifter and just draw 2. If you wanted, you could go grab its cousin, the white-blue version of, I think you could draw 2 and gain 2, but she's like 5 mana. Claim Jumper if you're behind on lands. Glen Alandra, a Guardian, which it itself has flash and can flash in, and then you can remove a counter from it to counter target non-creature spell. Its controller draws a card and then just flicker it and reset it. Like really fucking annoying stuff. Reflector Mage, which is like toxic in a deck like this. When Reflector Mage enters the battlefield, return target creature to an opponent controls to its owner's hand. That creature's owner can't cast spells with the same name with that same name that creature has until your next turn. They're like locked out. This is like perfect for just waiting until you need to do something to bounce something out of the way, and they can't even re-resolve it.
Yeah, because it gives you a longer period of time that they're stuck.
Yeah.
Right?
Right. Amphimutineer enters, it exiles a creature and they get a shitty salamander. Same with Skyclave Apparition.
That salamander ain't shitty, dog. that salamander ain't shitty.
That's true. It's a lot shittier than whatever if I got pushed to use the salamander guy on it, yeah. I love that fucking guy. Riptide Gearhulk, right? You get something from everybody on that. You put their non-land permanent on top of their hand. So you get something, or on top of their library. You get something like this down. You have to figure out this window thing. That's, I think, the big problem here is when to figure that out. But then eventually it becomes obvious that like you're kind of tempoing things. And if you don't need to, like let's say all we have is Abuelo, a creature that could draw, a creature that could ramp, and a creature that could remove something. That's it. And your hand is empty.
Mm-hmm.
You could block, do the thing, grab a creature.
Yeah, you'll be fine.
Or grab a card or grab a land. And the longer this goes, it starts to look pretty wild, right?
It does.
Yeah. And then of course there's like Parting Gust, Momentary Blink, Flicker of Fate, all of Kyle's like favorite cards. Airbender's Reversals in here. But the thing I really like about this list is like the wide variety of escape route cards. Like Cryptic Command is incredible. Spell Gyre is incredible. Mystic Confluence. These they give you so many modal ways to backflip out of the most goofy situations, and then weave throughout are Andy's favorite spells, which is Archaeomancer, the Mnemonic Wall, Shipwreck Dowser, and Salvager of Secrets. That's really annoying with your commander.
All of these creatures that return a spell to hand from graveyard are really good with any kind of blink flicker.
Annoying. Yeah. Really annoying.
Especially in this case, I might add, I know this isn't the point of this episode, but even if you have the ones that don't target 2, like Ghostly Flicker, you have a way with Abuelo
yeah,
that you can recapture those blink spells with your Archaeomancer type bodies without having to get those doubles.
Right.
Fucking awesome.
It's pretty sick. But you see where the strength, I think, of this guy sits is not where Brago is, not where he's like, okay, well, this is an activated ability. And I think when people read this guy, they're like, he seems like a fair version of those things. But when you characterize him like this, where, well, if I specifically push myself onto the back foot and I'm going to wait to see what people do, and that's how I'm going to play this game, it starts to look fucking annoying, actually. Like, probably just as bad as Brago. There's only one sorcery in the entire deck, and it's Lorien Revealed to go grab an island.
Yeah.
It's all on the instant speed stuff. If there was creatures that have flash and a good instant, I was like really into them. But there just wasn't that many, at least in these colors. There's like the weird bird that like pushes something back to their hand, Aven Interceptor. They're not as good because they have abilities that matter like that. But remember, he doesn't return them until the end of the turn.
End of turn.
So they're not as great, but
well, you have to think about it in terms of like, yeah, there's trade-offs, right? I mean, like you said, you played against my Brago versus my Yorion. I don't know which one you guys disliked more, but
yeah,
neither of them were great.
Yeah. Flicker is incredible. Dear listener, you can remove creatures from combat. You can save your creatures from spot removal. You can, in Abuelo's case, like shove them out of the way of board wipes. He does let you do artifacts. So there's an artifact in here where it leaves, and when it enters, it draws a card. So it's a divination whenever you feel like you have nothing better to do. But the thing I'm kind of pointing to is you're wound back and you're able to respond to things as they come, and you're playing more of a tempo game. As far as like bringing it in bracket 2 style thing, which is where all of my stuff is fitted right now.
It's hard.
Yeah, I don't know. With decks like this, I lean on things like Hand of Vecna, because your hand is just naturally needing to stay pretty swollen. Like you want to maintain your options. So when you move to combat with Abuelo, you have a ward flying dude who could probably put somebody on the clock. That's looking more like a duelist style commander damage deck if you're listening to this podcast. But I don't know. Figure yourself out with that.
Probably what I should have done with Yorion to make that a little more enjoyable. I was really good at playing back foot with that deck and not letting you guys get me.
Yeah. Imperial Plate. I think there's an enchantment that does Imperial Plate. What is it? Nerd Rage will make him like a base 10/10.
Oh,
so
right.
It's something like that where like they clearly have an existential threat in the form of whatever your hand and flicker stuff could do.
Yeah.
And a actual threat, which is like this fucking guy, it just keeps coming at me.
Yeah.
So somewhere you need to pivot. It's pretty obvious with the Greyfax build that I did where you need to go. This one's less so.
Yeah.
Maybe dial the creatures back a little bit. I just didn't want to have you like draw hands and you're like, I got nothing to flick, or why is he my commander? That was like the last thing I wanted to do was make a list for somebody to like, okay, but I don't really see it. Instead, it's, okay, well, I'll put this down. Okay, I'm not supposed to use mana. I'll pass. All right, I pass. And then it's hard to goldfish decks like this because you just never know. It'll probably have to change a lot for your meta. I don't know what's relevant to listeners' meta. I just know.
True.
Yeah, it's pretty good to have a counterspell and a draw spell in the same place. And if you got to use one or the other, when you finally draw an actual like Dovin's Veto or something like that, well, I don't know, take the bet, do the card thing, like draw the other card. Or hold both and flicker the fucking Mole Drifter. Like, yeah, it's just cool. It actually feels great, this guy. You could add some stuff to him because you have an early flyer. So I've got things like Sword of the Animist. Because the more mana you have in every game, the more potent this becomes. But you get to a space with him where 3 becomes 6 mana, and now you can flicker 2 creatures or 1 creature twice in a cycle and still have options. but you could take it further with like Dowsing Dagger is a good one for him, where you just give yourself a Gilded Lotus style sized land. It's kind of hard because it only produces one color, that one, and that activation is specifically it's double colored, so it's kind of weird.
Sure.
Hidden Strings is another incredible card with a flying commander, but it only untaps 2 permanents. I don't know.
I do think if people are looking at this one, because Abuelo hits creatures and artifacts, maybe some of the equipment that auto equips when it enters might be okay.
It's okay, yeah. So like,
they're not the best things, but if you're looking for something to bring it with,
yeah,
those might work. But it's
a good idea because he can protect that equipment too.
Yes.
So. Yes, like Celestial Armor would be one that I would probably recommend because you can flash it in. It gives him +2 and hexproof. It won't really serve you from there on, but it auto equips because now it comes at end of turn. So if somebody tries to target him later on, because they lose the hexproof. But that's a great idea, Kyle. Like because he can actually get artifact stuff out of death range. Like if somebody's trying to brick something. Yeah,
there's some others.
Sword of Hearth and Home ain't going anywhere.
There's
with
some
this guy.
others that give your commander protection for the turn that it comes in. That's a little harder with this one because it's till end of turn. So I don't know. I'm just trying to think like, because I love this style of play with Blink where it's back-footed Blink.
Yeah.
But it can be hard to bring it. I'm glad that you brought up like the Hand of Vecna and some of the other options.
Yeah.
Like there's
I don't want to blame Azorius, but like this is a very hard Azorius, old school Azorius coded deck.
Yeah.
So,
but I would say you have all of the things, A, that kind of hit the like, let's play on the back foot. And B, I think the stuff that is core to being successful with this particular strategy, like you've got solid removal, solid draw, solid things to get spells back to hand.
This guy's sick. You could probably do something like adds a counter to him on your combat. Again, like you want to not overcommit your mana. So I don't know, Noble Heritage. Like I'm leaning on some of my old school commander damage stuffs. Like Noble Heritage is like he's going to pick up 2 counters every cycle and swing, and then you have the flicker whenever you need it. Like it's going to look like you're vulnerable because he's tapped, but you don't want to block with him ever.
Yeah.
So there's a bunch of those style of effects. I would just caution you got to keep the mana really low on these things. Like some of the equipment is dangerous because of how much it costs.
Yeah, because it would be tempting to do a Cathar's Crusade, but.
And everyone's going to go, okay, so he's open. Let's finally go in.
Yeah.
That's the window.
Yeah.
What do you think about that one?
I like this, and I like the characterization here. I was actually like, when's Andy going to talk about where Blink decks sit?
Yeah, because I think Blink decks do their best with the instants and sorceries, and then when you loop something I love into them, which is the Archaeomancer style effects, it gets grotesque really fast, where it's obvious, cool, so you're just able to like keep doing that. Yeah. Great. Like it's pretty sick with him because you have a way to force the mana issue into it too, where you're not kind of stuck too bad.
And I think it highlights another piece, like, with that first deck with Greyfax, right? Like you illustrated, okay, I can hold mana up if I need to do the counter spell, the Etherize, whatever. But really what I want to do is end step tokens. This one highlights that same thing of like, okay, what was the example that you brought up of the modal counter spell thing?
Yeah, there's a few. There's like Supreme Will. Confound. Like what is it? The confounding thing or whatever.
Oh yeah. So
Spell Gyre is modal.
Yeah. So like those types of things where you're like, okay, I have a counter if I need it, or something else that the confounding riddle was the one you had brought up earlier. Like I've got that available where I can use this and get exposure to cards, counter a spell. But if not, I'm gonna flicker my Reflector Mage and dink somebody for a minute.
That sucks.
Like,
that sucks.
That's which is what, and I think that's the spirit of it, right? Like there's a thing I want to do, which is go take a nap and then come back to the helm. But if I've got to jump into the fucking ocean and patch up this breach in the hull, then okay, I can.
Yeah. This one's pretty ragtag, I think. But yeah, you're like, we don't have things like Archmage Emeritus. Emeritus.
Yeah.
we don't have that really running because it just makes better sense to put our mana to work with a creature that just can be re-ATB'd.
Yeah.
The biggest struggle here is to find the mana to resolve some of them. The early setup is a bit tricky, but once you're finally dug in like a tick, it gets, I think, easier and easier for you to hold on. Mass bounce, I think, probably should be here. I just don't know how this looks with him kind of getting caught in the middle of that. It could look pretty wild, but yeah, it's a pretty sick deck. Maybe Elish Norn to like really choke tokens, but that's 7 mana to get something out. Like, I just don't know where you are in this game.
I will say, in my experience with decks like this, I mean, you're using some of the things that I do like this, like the Solemn Simulacrum and the sort of the Animist, but I have found that those big mana rocks like the Thran Dynamo and the Gilded Lotus really help you jump over that edge where you can be like, okay, I am going to resolve my Witch Enchanter, but I still have mana up for Blink.
It's probably good advice because they're gone till end of turn. If somebody books a Vandal Blast or something, like you can blink it out of the way, or something like Austere Command, you can put it out of the way because it's gone till end of turn. So that's probably good advice. It's just because they give you mana, like you can weave them in a little bit. Like a Thran Dynamo, of course, it costs 4 mana up front, but it just bought you 3 mana. Like you're not completely flatlined. Like your colors might be a little screwed.
Yeah.
But that's not
like
bad.
Gilded Lotus is one of my favorite with Blink decks because, you know, I mean, you can abuse the shit out of them.
Especially with this dude. Yeah. That's a great point. Gilded Lotus, maybe some of like the relics, like Relic of, like use him. So it's a double, it's really double.
Yeah.
Because you're just not going to be blocking with him. I don't think. If you're like, fuck, if I had enough mana, I could just bounce this creature or just flat exile it with my with my Salamander pirate.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. Like if you tap Relic of Legends and Abuelo, you produce 2 mana out of that.
Which I know that goes against what we just said of like, you really want to limit the amount of like front footing on your turn.
Yeah.
But those, at least there's some offset that comes with them.
Right. They're ready to use.
Yeah.
You ready to look at the next one, or do you
let's
think this one's so just, trying to push this thing across. I don't know how you'd say this. Kenosis. Let's just call it Kenesis. It's Kenosis, the priest of Thassa. So the other thing I'm kind of trying to stay on also is not going way high with the mana cost with these guys, because their activated abilities are really what's going to be taxing us the most. Greyfax was like the borderline. I'm like, man, dude, this is rough. But it's only 2 mana for a 1/3. If you would scry a number of cards, scry that many cards plus 1 instead. Okay, so I'll admit this one's probably the more janky of all of my ideas, but I really am trying to force the issue here, dude, of like, this is really where you want to play. You can pay 3 in a hybrid green or blue. Look at the top card of your library. If it's a Kraken, Leviathan, Octopus, or Serpent card or creature card, you may put it into the battlefield. If you don't put the card into the battlefield, you may put it on the bottom of your library. It's funny that it's like he cares about scrying, but he doesn't scry to do the thing. Essentially what we have here is a way to, at instant speed, bring something from your library straight into fucking play. Stuff that has no business being able to do that. Specifically, I don't know, follow through with the combat right away.
Yeah.
What Simic is great at is, combining draw with mana. That's like the big danger here is, okay, well, I'm drawing and I've got more mana and I've got more options and I've got more mana, and they can fill their deck with just like very razor thin specific answers and protect their big fucking things when people are trying to move in on them. That's like the strength here.
Yeah.
But what they don't have is the ability to like, okay, and I'm now going to move to combat and push you out. So instead, you're just kind of watching the Simic player just fucking beat off, honestly, with what they're doing. So what I like about this guy is that, like, if you know what's on the top of your library is something as simple as a Simic Sky Swallower, which is just a 6/6 flying trample shroud, it's going to come in ready to go before your turn is, because you're kind of setting yourself up to activate this ability and shove things into play. So this is a very draw-go deck with a really clunky draw, not kind of go activation. I went around looking at lists, and I feel like a lot of people were kind of hung up on trying to look at the top of their library.
Sure.
And I'm like, let's just load the deck full of instant speed. We scry, because you get extra scry.
Yeah, you can get deeper scry than just a single. Yeah.
So I this deck felt okay, man. It felt okay. I think the only thing that I think this thing will struggle with is its ability to do anything outside of scrying and shoving these dudes into play. My hope is like once they're down, they're just enough of a problem that you can take the game. So it's a little bit more in the mid-foot compared to Abuelo.
Okay.
Because you're bringing big dudes in to shove it.
Yeah.
But I did adopt some of the learnings from that last deck, right? It's like, okay, well, Insidious Will, Supreme Will, Rewind, Spell Gyre, Whelming, like these are in our hands, right? Mystic Confluence, Confounding Riddle. So if I really like, they don't scry, but there's something that I can escape from where if I have nothing to do or holy shit, they're trying to mess with me, I've got reasonable answers, like 3 steps ahead, for example. Right?
Sure.
Like you counter a spell or you make a token copy or you draw cards. Something like Airship Crash, where it's like I can destroy target creature or enchantment destroy a creature with flying or an artifact or an enchantment. But if I don't need to do any of those things, I can just cycle this thing away and get rid of it. Cycling is really strong with a deck where I need a screw. Here it is. Yeah. I'm going to cannibalize a screw, which is my draw spell, because I know what's on the top right now is not what I need. So I'm going to get rid of it or whatever. See what I mean?
Yeah.
Shuffling your library is pretty good with this, where you're like, I'm just not seeing what I need. I'm going to just force a shuffle. So I kept the fetch lands, and then more to the fact, I introduced the instant speed ramp spells that you talked about. So he comes down on 2. And then we pass through and we're like, okay, Roiling Regrowth. I'm not going to ramp on my fucking turn. Yeah. Cycle of Renewal. I'm not on my turn. Harrow, not on my turn. Entis Restoration, if you've already got a Kraken down, gets you 3 fucking basics. Go. Yeah. So it's all off the fucking turn. Smuggler's Surprise. So if I just draw these Krakens or Serpents or what, I'm just going to call them Krakens, into my hand. Yeah. I just surprise them into play. This card is insane for $6. Green Spree. You can pay +2 to mill 4 cards. You can put and put up to 2 creature and or land cards from among the milled cards into your hand. Or you can add 5 to this. You may put 2 creature cards from your hand into the battlefield. Crazy. Like you won't even bother with his ability with this. And then if you want, creatures you control with power 4 or greater gain hexproof and indestructible till end of turn. Dude,
the spree cards that's some of my favorite design in the last several years.
They're great here. That white spell, what is it? Like High Noon or whatever it is. Like, it's also great. You can do it off turn. You can spree it to remove all their abilities and destroy and give your stuff indestructible and destroy everything. Yeah. So this deck is really looking to do that. Like I can go through the different scry cards, but those are boring. But like, Heathline Knots, Joint Exploration, that kind of stuff. I've got Ovia, the Auto Tech Artisan in here. So it's 4 mana for a 1/2. Each creature that's attacking one of your opponents has trample. A lot of these guys don't actually have trample. Some of them are just 6/6s and 8/8s. Some of them do, but I tried to get ones with mostly evasion. Yeah. But the line that we like here is that you can pay green. You may put a creature or vehicle card from your graveyard or from your hand into the battlefield. If you put an artifact into the battlefield this way, it comes with 2 counters. That won't matter here, but really, it's if you draw a Kraken, draw a Sea Beast on accident, you still have an instant speed way to shove it into play. Yes. So is it the top of the library or is it, you see? Yeah. And then everybody attacking not you gets trample. I fucking love that design. The everybody attacking not me gets trample.
Go somewhere else and you'll get rewarded.
I love it. Yeah. If you care about the Krakens, the Sea Beasts, some standouts are the Star Winder. It's a Leviathan that's a 7/7 for 7. Whenever a creature you control deals combat damage to a player, you may draw that many cards. That's why you want stuff like Ovia and right? Like you probably should put maybe one more Piper in this deck just to shove them into play.
Just to push them.
At instant speed, that's what matters. It's not so much about obviating the mana cost with a Simic deck for too long. Sure. Because eventually we'll just be able to hardcast these fuckers. But that one's pretty interesting. Slin Voda has the kicker. It's got to be cast, but it's an 8/8. Like that's my whole thing with that. Scourge of the Fleets. I don't usually love putting this in decks that split a color, but as you move along, like you're going to pick up enough islands where it's going to be effective. Like if you have 5 islands, that's a crazy bounce. By the way, it returns each creature your opponents control, guys, with toughness X or less, where X is the number of islands you control. Well, in a green deck, you can use your Entis Restoration to bring your island count up by 3 if you're good on green. Yeah. And it's enough usually to unwind a bunch of people. Trench Gorger. This one I think is insane for insane players. But like if the deck is involved with scry so much and you're set up where you think you need to be, I don't know where this needs to go, listener, but we'll read it off. It's 8 mana for a 6/6, so it's 6 blue, and you're like, why the fuck is it that much? It has trample. When Trench Gorger enters the battlefield, you may search your library for any number of land cards. Exile them. Then you shuffle your library. If you do, the Trench Gorger's power and toughness are each become equal to the number of cards exiled this way. So if you luck it off of this early, it's a 6/6 trample for 6. If you're like, okay, it's too early for me to do that other psychotic spell. But if you're nuts, you could go and just like, all right, I'm going to get rid of like 10 lands and just make it a 10/10. There's still lands left in my library, but the deck is getting thinner.
But now you don't have to scry as many lands out of the way to do your thing.
Exactly, right? So you're not having to shove lands around so much the later the game goes. And these just work very proportionally well with stuff like Rishkar's Expertise, which is not in this deck, but its instant speed cousin is.
Yeah.
And it's just like getting bigger and bigger. And it is trample. So that one is pretty wild. We've seen Brad use this one to great effect a few times where it's like, oh shit. And then
Brad's nuts.
And then he follows up with something else. Summon Leviathan. It's just 6 for a 6/6. It's a Saga Leviathan thing, right? It's from the Final Fantasy. Return each creature that isn't a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent to its owner's hand as on its first chapter. Then until end of turn, whenever a Kraken, Leviathan, Merfolk, Octopus, or Serpent attacks, draw a card. So it gets that twice. Pretty fucking wild that you can just bounce everything out of every, like, by the way, bro's a Merfolk, just so everyone knows. Coma and Coma 2.0, both are here. Glacier Godmaw is here. It's supposed to be 7 mana for a 6/6 trample. When this creature enters, create a land or token, landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, creatures you control get +1/+1 and gain vigilance and haste until end of turn. The haste doesn't matter so much for us because of how we're playing, but the vigilance does. During your turn, you play a land, and what do you want? You want to be able to block. Like, people are going to try to bring this back to you because you're throwing larges at them. And
it's true.
Larges with vigilance are a large problem. IMO.
Turns out.
What do you think of this so far with this?
Yeah,
one?
this is a pretty interesting merging of this idea of like, let me find a way to get these problems into play. And I like that you've thought about the kind of like Piper way of let's push them.
Yeah.
You know,
and I'm really trying to force this idea of when is the best time for these? It ain't your turn, dude.
Yeah.
If you can do this off your turn, that's the absolute best time for this because of what we've said. If Kyle's sitting on a board wipe, he doesn't know if I can do this or not. He doesn't even know if I even have it in my fucking hand. So he has to figure that out. Is he going to shoot it and just roll it? So, okay, my guy that's 2 mana dies and gets rezoned. Big deal. Yeah, see what I say?
Yeah.
Like, but if we go to right before my turn begins and I'm like, okay, well, there wasn't any airstrike, I'm going to bring these things out. Right? Or in our case, like a fucking Bikini Atoll nuke. I don't know. I bring it out on right before my turn begins, and now I'm able to capitalize on the power of this creature and attack with it. 31 instants are in this deck.
That's going hard.
It's really like, I'm going to go things off. I'm really looking to go off turn. And I think it's just like the activation is so risky. I'm really not trying to set up the user to just like, I'm going to spam this thing until I get us cracked.
Yeah, like there are judicious things to do off turn in the deck.
Yeah. And then there's only 3 sorceries, but 2 of which are lands. And then there's the Whelming Wave, which bounces everything but these creature types.
Sure.
What do you think of that one?
I think that one's actually really pretty cool. This is a space I'm liking putting this to use.
Yeah, this guy's sick if you just give up on, okay, I need to know what's on the top of my library. I'm going to play cards. I'm going to play lands. Like, you could introduce some of those things. I would just be cautious about, they need to be maybe the ones that let you play lands from the top of your library to clear them out. But I would not bring the ones that reveal it. Like, you don't want to be revealing it. What's the point? Like,
yeah, what is the point?
Yeah, you want these things like lurking under the water, right? Like, if you need that thematic, but like if you just do I can play extra lands and I play with the top card of my library revealed, like that's not, maybe you want that. I don't know. I kind of like the idea of I'm scrying and planning the top of my library.
There's some things
and then pulling it off.
I feel like
I think it would be really fun to play this one.
I feel like there's some things in this game that they're fool's gold, right?
Yeah.
Like knowing too much about the top of your library ain't that helpful.
Yeah.
You know, like scry should be enough, right?
It's at its most helpful when you're allowed to play lands. That's when I think it's at its most helpful.
That is when it is at its most helpful.
I guess thematically you could put the weird star whale thing that lets you like crew it and hit somebody to get like that might make sense, like playing lands from the top.
Fair.
But I would not let people see what's up there. I would avoid that.
Yeah.
Scroll rack would be an upgrade for this deck, of course, because if you draw these things, they're now in your hand, and depending on when you want to do. But eventually, like the way I've constructed this, when I've constructed the deck, the way I've done it is you'll likely just have enough mana to hard cast some of these things if you're falling into it. It's not protect my commander, I can't do it. It's just that you could get them early at instant speed is, I think, the advantage.
Yes.
And then you have a battery of instants and sorceries, or sorry, instants. I keep saying instants and sorceries like it's just convulsive. You have a battery of instants to protect these things. Okay, well, if you're going to try to kill my coma, which is already hard to do.
Right. You shall not.
You shall not. This one's actually pretty dope.
I actually like this one.
I was having fun
like
spinning this one around. like delightful discovery. It's 5 mana, but it costs 1 less to cast for each spell your opponents have cast this turn. So I don't know, minimally it's 4 mana. Scry 2, then draw 2 cards. But for him, it's scry 3, draw 2. That's pretty good for 4 mana is what it probably will cost. If they cast 2 spells, it's down to 3 mana. It's starting to get better and better the more greedy the more active that opponent is, I guess.
Yeah, true.
They're doing the opposite of what you do.
And they are really delighted in that art.
Are they? What's going on? It looks like they found dinner.
What do you think? New class pet?
Yeah.
One of them's thinking dinner for sure.
Yeah. How are we feeling about this so far?
Yeah, these are really good illustrations of like what I'm liking. What you've set up here is there's different ways to be doing this. I think it's really easy for someone who doesn't play a ton of Spellslinger to get into the idea of like, oh, there's only like one back foot Spellslinger, and that's fucking Talrand, Mother May I. And that's not the point with any of these that you've kind of walked through. Like, yeah, if I need to protect what I'm doing, I have the option here.
Right.
But
let's talk about Talrand, Mother May I. We've had it. We've had both iterations of that. Cody graced us with that one. It doesn't help. If all it is full of counter magic, I have just tons of counter spells, just tons of counter spells. Yeah. Eventually, people are just going to ram spells across to get things through. You're going to run out, and you're only getting a couple drakes. And what you're not doing is replenishing your supply. You're cannibalizing screws all over your boats, like to keep yourself going. But like you're never going to make it back to port.
Yeah, like how many fucking sci-fi movies have we seen where they just keep bombarding you until your shields fall off?
Exactly.
And like that is what will happen in those situations.
It's a losing strategy because you can't replenish what you're doing. And then really you've kind of like, I don't know, trained the play group. You've operantly conditioned the play group to really expect interference every time they try to do something.
Yeah.
If you look at these lists, a lot of them are like, okay, well, I can step away through this draw, or I can choose between these 2 modes, or fog a combat or something like that. Eventually, they're going to get the read of the deck. It's very reactive. It's waiting until the end of its turn to try to scry some stuff and push out a Kraken, or flicker this creature a bunch of times and then push it off. Like that's what it's looking like it's doing over time.
Yeah.
Any play group will figure this out. It's every strategy has just an element of danger to it. That's just how this game is formatted. There isn't a bulletproof fucking way to play.
And if it gets bad enough, like they'll start programming in the Conqueror's Flail into their deck, and they'll just be like, fine, you can be at instant speed, but you can't do it on my turn.
Correct. These are not great for us. Things like Marisi, things like Teferi, if anyone's around, like really, like you should probably run Teferi in your thing, where it's like I can do it whenever I want, and you guys can only go sorcery.
Yeah.
But Conqueror's Flail. Like the reason that some people go after those cards is because this is strong. You can ruin someone's game because they're walking right into an Aetherize.
Yeah.
These people who, that's the way they want to play. They want to play going forward, and that's their thing. And I'm just educating that the entire game doesn't need to exist in the main phase. Like, yes, it just doesn't. I think you can effectively do it down here without using too stapley combo-y of things. If you're a listener who plays at higher power than me and Kyle, and you probably already know a lot of this stuff and have ways to like, okay, and I can just combo off. I don't even really didn't waste my time too much with Krakens. I can do a couple really good ones. And then, dude, there's so many like Sensei's Divining Top combos that like exist. You'll be okay. You'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So if you want to go out, explore those avenues, like boot up your spell book and do it, and do your bracket 4 deck. But that's the message I'm trying to push here, is that like, if you load the deck full of instants and then you have ways to step away from not using them, or they're not needed, or they are flexible, or they have a good variety of this seems to come up a lot every game. You can move away from doing things actively on your turn and exposing everything you're doing to somebody's board wipe, to somebody's Ravenous Chupacabra, Andy's fucking Fleshbag Marauder, like all of these things that you're like just dodging out of. And when they shoot those spells right in front of you, it is a fucking gift, dude. Like watching a board wipe go off when you're sitting on all of this stuff because somebody else can't help themselves and they have pulled so much goddamn threat. They pushed themselves so fucking over the line that everyone's just not quite dead because one's not 0 and they get burned off, and you're sitting here with all these cards in your hand. It's like manna from heaven, literally, dude. Like we've seen this happen so many times, and you're like, oh shit, I'm about to start taking over this game because everyone's exhausted.
Yeah.
And you're still like, I don't know, you're pretty hurt, but you'll be like, I got enough. I have enough utility where I can back out of this.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure I can. So it's just a different thing to try to do. Some people really don't want to engage in this, and that's fine. But that's what the last episode was for, is that like, okay, well, let's just like push it through and do the big thing with the spells, you know?
To kind of come back to that point though, is like, I think, you know, for a bunch of people who maybe don't sit in that Spellslinger lane that often, there are some caricatures of the back foot Spellslinger that we might have in our minds. And I think these decks so far have really well illustrated that you can do a ton of things by just saving yourself that time of exposure a little bit. And these are well illustrated.
Yeah. It's rough. I'll give you that. You can just, the risk is like, I didn't do anything. That's not good. I try my best to like eliminate that from these decks. I think the danger is the highest with this Kenosis guy, because it's like, I don't know, I guess I could just random. I mean, his ability can't like whiff, at least it puts it away.
Yeah.
But God, dude, it's just like not worth the mana.
Yeah.
That's why they have that
it's
other layer.
High
but
MV.
he is only 2 mana. He's cool, dude. I think that's the way to do him. I really don't think you should just be like, okay, my turn, I'm going to spam this ability. Like you really should be doing it. If it said, you're seeing this show up more and more actually, Kyle, on cards where it says activate only once and only as a sorcery.
Yeah, it's
like,
true.
It's like the designers kind of know the strength is there with this. They're like, dude, we got to like not allow people to do this every second they want to.
And I'm here thinking, if it doesn't say that, how can I take advantage of it off turn?
Yeah,
you know?
Exactly. And I think they made the right choice by moving the Seedborn Muse to the Game Changers list because of the type of decks that want Seedborn Muse.
Yeah.
It would be incredible here because you're not down anything for activating that ability. You're just like, okay, I'm just going to do it. And you would introduce more and more to the deck. Like, I'm just going to put Thrasios in here. I'm going to put...
I mean, hell, in these colors, they had the band one too, right?
You know what I mean? But like, oh yeah, you're right. The Prophet of Krufix was crazy.
That also gave flash.
It was crazy. Yeah. If you brought Prophet of Krufix back here, holy crap. Like it wouldn't be, and I think somebody who's listening to this can see why. It's like, well, it's because I can't figure out what this person's going to do. And it's too late for me because my whole strategy was play cards, pray.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
And I eat your prayers with stuff like that. And so I was like, they really should move it out because a deck can be set up to really abuse that creature. Should we talk about the last one or should we talk about other ideas and then talk about the last one? Let me just drive past some stuff that I was thinking about. I didn't put them in here because I didn't really want to overcomplicate things. One that just comes right to mind that I thought was pretty cool was Yurlock.
Oh, yeah.
So Yurlock has this thing where you pay 1, you tap, and he adds Jund to your mana pool. Everybody's mana pool, actually. It's a 4/4 Vigilant for 4 Vaishino Shaman is what he is.
Mm-hmm.
If you go to the EDH rec page, everybody's really trying to drive the top line of this deck, or type line of this card, which is everybody loses life if they don't use their mana. Like, that's the big thing.
Yeah.
Essentially, what you're trying to do is activate him either infinitely to have infinite mana shoved into everyone's mana pool, and then you move to the combat phase or something and they just die.
Yeah.
Or people are taking it to the extreme of adding the enchantments to allow everyone to have double mana. Things like mana barbs too, stuff like that. I am not moved by that. I think that's a little too generous. Giving people cards is one thing. Giving them mana is something I don't know if I'm into. Belbay is like in that deck list. So what I was thinking was, when is the best time to put mana in someone's mana pool if you don't want them to use it? Their combat phase. Like, listener has to move to combat. They can't skip it. They go to the combat phase.
Yeah, it does exist.
Or their end step, or some place where they need only an instant spell to do it. And you, if you make your deck flooded with instant speed stuff in Jund, you'll be able to empty it from your mana pool. So really what this guy looks like is just a colossal gutter snipe is really what he looks like. If people aren't able to push that mana out. Chaos Warp's in everyone's deck. Beast Within is in everyone's deck. So those two colors will likely have an escape route and be like, I'm going to hold it up. And once they kind of clock you, they can almost plan around things. Well, I'm not going to use the removal on my turn. I'm going to wait for Kyle to give me my Jund mana and then I'll use it. So
which I've done.
That danger is always there, but in that same deck, you can have fucking Bolt Bend and Return the Favor and
True.
And like to be ready for it, right?
Yeah,
So like be 2 steps ahead of them and go, I know they're going to try to do it. I'm going to Vana's Hunger. And then I know they're going to try to go, okay, well, in response, I'm going to Beast Within. Okay, now I'm going to Bolt Bend it and throw it somewhere else or Deflecting Swat. So I thought the deck was actually pretty cool. It did lack the, again, which I think is the danger with some of these decks, is how to fucking bring it.
Sure.
Smasher kind of makes sense, like because you're throwing a spell on the stack every cycle, so you random somebody for whatever that spell size. But the spells can get wider as you go up, right? Like, so you could start using something like Winggrace's Judgment to blow up more things at instant speed.
Yeah.
Like that kind of idea. Have mana escapes also, right? So some of the stuff that's like, well, it's a cycling card, or it's these instants, like a lot of those instant speed ramp cards are 3 mana. They can just be thrown out. I'm going to use the Urlock mana to harrow for lands, and that's that.
Yeah.
So people go, oh, well, I have to take 3. So a blue deck, a mono blue deck will have very little to do with this mana unless they're kind of fitted like this, where they're using higher sized spells. But I don't know. I like the idea of it because it could backfire, as crazy as that sounds, where people can just like use that mana against you. But I like the idea of going a step ahead, where you're like, okay, well, I'm going to use Imp's Mischief and change the vector of that spell, and I'll lose the life, but I'm pointing it right back at you. And that would be fucking annoying, right? Where you're like, oh, fuck, I wasted this thing thinking he didn't have a way to do it. And by the way, the guy's just vigilant, you know?
It's true. So you can get in there.
The guy's just vigilant. He actually responds, I think, pretty well to Conqueror's Flail, because he just becomes he gets a +3/+3. So if you do want to do stuff on your turn, they couldn't do anything with that mana.
Good point.
So there's a version of this where
for that.
I can pivot and just do it on my turn.
Yeah.
So yeah. Also, green has some pretty cool flash creatures, which we'll get to, but so does black. Weirdly, there's a lot of like, oh, well, a creature died, I'm going to exile it from my graveyard, or from your graveyard, and make that many treasures. Or, oh, these 2 creatures block, I'm going to flash them in and they both die because they took damage.
Or, oh, you're tutoring?
Yeah, true. I haven't thought about that. Right? Your worldly tutor and your vampiric tutor. So that's one idea.
Well, but I mean like the other one that's like, oh, it looks like you're tutoring, I'm going to take control of that tutor for you.
Oh, duh. Yes. Opposition agent.
Yeah.
Which, yeah, man. Well, I'm going to use my hero with your mana. Cool. So am I.
Yeah, me.
In fact, instead, I.
It shall be me.
Yeah, that'd be pretty sick. If you really wanted to go all the way, and I started working on this, and I'm like, I can't even finish this test. So I was looking at Kyodai. It's a 5-color dragon because it has an activation of gives it +5/+5, but it's a flash dragon for 4 mana that can flash in and make a permanent indestructible for as long as you control Kyodai. Okay. Is where I started. And then halfway through the brewing of the list, I was like, oh wait, Kenrith has a bunch of fucking activated abilities.
Kenrith is pretty good at being back-footed.
Right. So Kenrith has a battery of abilities that if you're really, really pushed off your turn, they all kind of make sense. You can offer to give somebody trample and haste to not attack you
Mhm.
You can draw a card. You can add counters, or you can just jack something out of a graveyard and then some, right? And pump a creature, I think is the other ability. So he has a bunch of escape routes, a bunch of pressure valves attached to him where you can decide whether you're going to use your deflecting palm or activate his ability, or decide whether you need to do your big X-sized draw spell or steal a creature out of the graveyard. He has just too many ways to backflip out of a corner, all strapped to one creature. It's almost like the cards in the deck could get more and more prescriptive and more narrow in their nature, and you can just rely more on those activated abilities.
True.
And if you're in 5 color playing Kenrith, you probably should just be using the Seedborn Muse and tell everyone that's where you're at and get out of the lower bracket with him. So that was one thing I looked at. I got like halfway through the list and I'm like, this is just it's an embarrassment of riches. I don't know what the best of the best are. I'm sitting here looking at like, like the list is too long. Like
to me, the challenge with 5 colors,
you could take the favorite cards I've listed through so far that you like and shove them into this deck, like out of this entire list. I think the other thing is that he's kind of sizable, so he can grow fairly confidently over the cycle of turns and be a threat himself,
Yeah, that put a counter on target creature being at 2 mana, just boop, boop, boop.
Yeah, you can empty that. It doesn't say activate once, dude. A lot of these guys like the
and it doesn't say another either.
I know, dude. So he would be like the ultimate expression of like an Aikido style, just backflipping out of whatever situation comes my way list.
Yeah.
So I didn't go after that. Ishtola, I think, kind of tells you to do this. She's like, hey, if you cast a non-creature spell 4 or greater, everyone's going to lose 2. And if somebody loses 4, I'm going to draw you a card. She almost like screams, like grabs you by the ears and screams, draw, go. Like do it off your turn. Do it as many times as you can and wait for somebody to take 2 and then activate it or do my thing, So I see that being a good one too. Another Esper one.
Yeah.
You see?
Yeah, I'm seeing some options
not
here.
To break the spoilers, but there's a dragon they spoiled where it's like it basically does the thing off turn. It really wants you to stay off turn.
Yeah.
Notice also that this isn't really one of those things where it's like we're gonna do something on everybody's turn.
No.
This is more of we're gonna wait till the moment's right is how this episode is configured. But like Alila could be something like that. But I think my worry there is it likely is the more responsive or reactive the deck becomes, you really like kind of bet on holding on player 2's turn, right?
Sure.
Let's say Kyle's player 1, he's the guy right after me, and then Brad's player 2, and then Tiff's player 3, right? I'm kind of betting, I probably won't do a lot during Kyle's turn, even though I want to get that fairy. I'm probably going to go, okay, well, I'm going to bet that Tiff's turn's not going to be that crazy, so I'm going to do a spell on Brad's turn, and then I'll do the rest of it on Tiff's turn. That's not really what I've been characterizing so far through this episode. It's more just like I'm going to I'm going to take a whole turn's worth of actions if I can. Just somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not break it up over 3 turns.
Yeah, exactly. Because
But Dimir wants you to cast off turn these days. There's plenty of rewards for doing it.
True.
Like there's ones that say, hey, draw a card or whatever. There's another one. Her name is like, what is her name? It was like Gemma Lightfoot or something. She basically just says like, if you end your turn and you didn't draw or you didn't cast a spell, draw a card. So she's like just flat saying like, don't do anything on your turn, dummy. Is her whole thing. I think that's her name. Is it Gemma? It's just Gem. Sorry. Gem Lightfoot, Sky Explorer. She's 4 mana for a 3/3 human scout with flying and vigilance. At the beginning of your end step, if you haven't cast a spell from your hand this turn, draw a card.
Okay.
So you could do like Foretell, and I bet if I went to her EDH rec page, there's all this backflipping going on to like do stuff from not hand, right? Plot, I guess, would be one of the things that I think this thing is directly speaking to.
You could do that.
You could do that, and it's probably fine. But the other speed is just like, she's just saying don't do anything on your fucking turn.
Yeah, go somewhere else.
And if you do, like, just make sure it ain't from your hand, I guess, if you want to do that level of elaboration. But she kind of just says it too, like, past your turn.
Yeah.
And I'm a flying vigilant chick, so I'll be
I'm
okay.
ready.
Yeah.
That's a good
she
one.
doesn't have an activated ability. Your luck kind of does. It's a mana ability, but it's not really kind of what we're doing here. Kenrith has a bunch of activated abilities. I think he's just cracked when you look at him through that lens of like, okay, he's already crazy good, but like when you look at it through that lens of, okay, so at any minute I can, as long as I tell myself to do this and do wilderness reclamation and activate his ability and empty my hand on my turn, but then off turn, I'm just introducing Seedborn Muse to that. Holy shit. Shigeki.
Let's do that one.
Okay. So this is like the Krark, I think, of this strategy, maybe. At least for us, at least at our group. Kind of ending on like a similar note from the last episode.
Yeah.
On the surface, I don't think Shigeki makes for a threatening commander at all. I just think it's a lot of words and a lot of weirdness on a card. I think in the right hands, though, and with the right deck construction built around it, this thing is really it borders from a really neat commander to holy fuck commander pretty fast.
Absolutely.
So our experience with it was before we Ragnaroked and before we really downshifted our power. I had built it for kind of like a people call this like turbo fog, right? Where you basically can just fog ad nauseum with the list. And it was trying to hold off forever until I could just kind of go infinite and demonstrate what I like to call a morale victory, which is I haven't really won like in your face, like people are zeroed out in life, but it's fairly obvious that like I'm not going to let you move forward,
right?
Unless you have a very specific thing to do.
Yeah.
Let me just read them off so we just can kind of wrap our head around this. So 1 and a green for a 1/3 legendary enchantment creature snake druid. Like you probably wouldn't think you were going to talk about this with Spellslinger, but I really do think this guy is like the shit. 1 and a green, tap, return Shigeki to its owner's hand, reveal the top 4 cards of your library. You may put a land card from among them into the battlefield tapped, put the rest into your graveyard. Then here's the real thing about him. He has an activated ability kind of strapped onto him when he's on the battlefield, but also he has one in your fucking hand, which is the last goddamn place that anyone, like, there's really very little that can happen here. Right? It's sort of like specifically go into your hand and discard him kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's a channel and it's channel also. So there's a very short list of things that can stop this. Like it's not a spell. It's an activated ability. Some people run that stuff.
Sure.
Some people love that stuff, but generally out in the greater EDH mainland, it ain't really happening. There's like island pockets.
Yeah, of all things that you could predict, do people have availability of counter target activated ability
or a stifle or something?
Odds are they don't have that available at the moment.
Yeah, but what matters here is channel XX green, discard this card, return X target non-legendary cards from your graveyard to your hand. So the way this looks is, from the way the angle we came from was I accumulate enough mana and a spell that specifically untaps lands to demonstrate that I can loop both Shigeki and the land untapping spell.
Yeah.
You see? So like the big one was like Rude Awakening, I think was one of them, right? Like it has a mode where you can untap all your lands. Or Early Harvest. Early Harvest says target player untaps all basic lands he or she controls. It's an instant speed for 3 mana. So if you have something that says, hey, at instant speed, return target creature from your graveyard, this in your hand, and Shigeki in your hand, and enough mana, you basically demonstrate that you can produce infinite mana as long as you're up by a positive result, and go, and with that, I'm going to, and you can just name whatever spell because you can loop that into the loop. So for me, you could just say, oh, and I'm going to beast within every fucking thing, all of your lands, all of your creatures, all of your permanents. And then they go, okay, so I have like 48 beasts, or I have whatever, like however many they are the city's blessinged with a beasts. And then you pass the turn because let's say you did this all on your turn and someone moves to attack you with all of their beasts. So you just beast within all of their beasts because it's still in your fucking hand.
Yeah. You'll never hit me with them. You'll have them for others, not me.
Right. So you kind of see the problem is like, it's a morale victory. It's like, I really haven't gone anywhere, but if somebody can't stop that loop when it starts going.
And low morale is kind, or morale is kind because it is truly low morale.
Low morale. Yeah. I said it's a morale victory for me. So that's how the deck was configured. It didn't work in our meta very well. It worked really well like the first couple weeks. Like I was having the hell of a time of my life.
Yeah.
But slowly, because of what just happens with us, is people have a memory of some kind of infinite outcome and they're going to push me for it. Absolutely. The deck was ready for this. It was loaded with fogs, but they're going to push through even harder. So I had to scrap the deck. We moved away from stapley play too. So gone were a lot of like green actually didn't have that many, but like, I just couldn't even crop rotate anymore.
Sure.
So I had to drop the deck. It was fucking awesome for me because I just don't love mono green. I just don't. I struggle with mono green. Somebody could sit here and be like, "We'll play Yeva," and I'm like, "Yeah, it's just I don't know, dude."
Also, he did.
I did. No, I didn't. That was Chris.
No, that was
Chris. But
wait,
Yisan is what I had, which is far worse. Yisan's so much worse.
You played Yeva for a second, didn't you?
I don't think I did, dude. Chris absolutely did.
I'm thinking years ago.
It's possible. Maybe I tried after Yisan because Yisan was so freaking gross. I feel
like you did because there were a couple times where we were just like, oh, these are the worst things to attack into.
Oh, you're right. You're right. That weird slime that turns it into a copy of the slime.
Yes.
I remember doing it. You're right. I did have that.
But it was so short-lived.
It was so short-lived.
So short-lived.
I just don't identify with it. Like, even though on
so
paper
much
it should
so
be
that you
fun.
forgot you did.
Yeah. I had Yisan for a little bit. It's so crazy, like just the power journey that people have.
So Yisan was so bonkers.
Yeah.
That, well, I was going to say that even when we actually would entertain like a 5 and 6 player game.
Oh my God.
You would still, but in some cases when you have Yisan and, a Seedborn Muse, more players is actually better than fewer players.
And you will have Seedborn Muse because you just work your way up to it. It's so dumb. I'll never do a deck like that ever again. All right. Like I know people get off on stuff like that. Maybe some of what I've said tonight, people are like rolling their eyes at, but like, I don't know, dude. Like it could be far worse. Like it could be far, far worse. That guy was so cracked.
Anyways, I'm derailing you.
I'm embarrassed that I even made it.
Mono green can be wild and can be frustrating.
So I got back on this thing a couple weeks ago. I was messaging somebody from our Discord, Micah, who I think kept theirs they're fine with it. I think it is like kind of a Go Infinites type of thing. So it's for their, hey, we're playing at a higher bracket. I'm going to do this mono green thing. We just don't do that here. We shifted everything down to our version of bracket 2, which is like, okay, you can't search your library for anything but a basic land. You can't start with a soul ring, and we'll just follow bracket 2 rules from there.
Yeah.
We don't do the bracket 2 vibe. Like I'm not going to have that here where we're just
we are trying to break it for sure.
We're just like, hey, we're following the rules of it. Okay. Like I'm not the spirit of it. So we'll just call it bracket L or something. I don't know. Like I can't constrain. I just don't want to mess with that. I'm not going to have that talk. It's not about power expectation with us. It's more of the limitations of, I just do not want to see stapley play anymore. We did it for years. Let's just move out of there.
It puts people in a similar space. Another tangent here. Like because I was putting together an Azorius deck this last weekend, and I was picking apart a lot of pieces from my Azorius Heliod deck. And I was like, good God, before brackets,
this thing's cracked open.
I was fucking doing a lot of bracket 4 picks for this deck.
Yeah. And it's a huge tangent, but what we were suffering from in this meta was people using weak commanders, but supporting them with powerful staples. And I've kind of learned the hard way that that's just no way to be. I think it's a little, I don't want to say the word disingenuous, but it's
and in that case, it was like a mana demanding commander that is then very powerful, then supported by
I'll never I think my pinnacle moment with it was we tried to move against Brad's Attempsis list, me and Cameron, and he dumped almost every free blue mana spell out of his hand to stop it. And he was sitting on Heuristic Study and was drawing cards as we're trying to convulse to kill this thing that's going to one-shot somebody.
And this is the one that says somebody loses if you've got different mana value cards in hand, right?
So he's happy to do it because he's replenishing his hand.
Yeah.
So it was just quite lame, where on the surface, this is supposed to be air quote something like janky, but he's not the only person who did it. I did it. We all did it.
We've all done it.
We've all done like a jankier commander. And that was our way of reining in the power, that like the most consistent part of our deck was something that wasn't that strong.
Yeah.
But it was loaded full of like the who's who of the who's who. So when they published the bracket stuff, I was like, so So we're already like mostly there. Like we'd already gotten rid of tutors even before this. Like that interaction with Brad's attempts thing before he like lethaled Cameron out of the game.
Yeah.
Was a tutorless game.
I think the game changer thing just really helped us kind of get in line with each other a little bit better.
Yeah. I think we got off the tutor game as the singleton nature of this game sunsetted. Like this is not a singleton situation, I think, too much. So we were just like, well, let's just reduce this even further and try to get some semblance of the thing that we wanted to do when we came to this format.
Yeah.
But it's kind of a shitty thing where you've got like clearly a weaker commander. I mean, Attempts is a lot of setup, a lot of conditions need to go right. Like he's not crazy for like loading these cards into the deck.
True.
But it's just like this random, it's almost like it felt like you're walking around in Yellowstone and you just fall into the fucking water, dude, and like burn to death. Like it felt like that where you're like, wow, this is really pretty. And like, oh yeah, he's got a lot of like
cool fall morning and all of a sudden my skin's melting off.
It's just like all of a sudden out of nowhere. Yeah, man. It's like, it just felt strange. And so when we moved to this, like all of that kind of went away.
Yeah.
It introduced its own illustration of problems because we really are playing in the landfill that is EDH, right? Like the ruined detritus of all of the other fucking formats just slides down the hill into our format. And also they keep designing stuff that's specifically a pollutant for our format also, but whatever. So it's the best we can do. And Shigeki was kind of like that, right? Like on the surface, like it doesn't seem like he's that cracked, but when you just load him full of like, okay, well, he can just go infinite and only a very specific battery of blue spells, maybe a couple red spells can stop me. It was hard. And so I scrapped the deck. I recently revisited it because I've been on this like kick about trying to round out my roster with monocolored decks. Like I need a mono green deck. And I could not get to one that I wanted because I just don't like the mono green play. So I rebuild this thing and I reach out to Mike and I'm like, hey, what if I just treat this like a reanimator deck? Was originally my intention. So this was before I started this series, before I was working through all this.
Yeah.
And we're kind of messaging back and forth and I'm getting really good ideas and things that kind of make sense for a reanimation and not. And as I'm goldfishing this thing, I'm just like, it's just a lot of damn mana to get something out of my graveyard back into my hand and then recast it is really what I got. I was like, it feels like a lot. These things are a little sticky.
And by that, you mean like the channel effect from Shigeki is a lot to do it by itself.
And by the way, it can't hit legendaries, which matters more and more the deeper we get into everything must be a commander in the Wild West that we're in.
True.
So there was actually guys I had to take out. I'm like, I can't actually recur this with him, So you can't Shigeki your Shigeki.
That just sounds so...
yeah.
We're in public. You can't Shigeki your Shigeki.
Your Shigeki. Can you imagine just randomly saying that to somebody? And until you hear somebody, well, yeah, because you can't channel not like a legendary back from your graveyard. Eventually you'll find somebody.
Dude, there's things that like I just want to say randomly to people. That's one of them. But you know what show has a lot of like banger lines like that? Is Love on the Spectrum. There are so many good banger lines.
Is that reality show? Or?
Yeah, it's people that are on the autism spectrum that are dating, and it's so wholesome, but they say the most incredible fucking things.
Really?
I just love the sayings that come out of that show.
So my nephew is like deeply autistic. Like there's... Yeah, he's very... I mean, he's pretty functional, but he'll never have like a regular... You've met him, right? Like he'll never have like a regular life.
Yeah.
Like there's no way. He's going to be with my sister for forever.
He'll have a caretaker.
And I remember asking her about that, and I'm like, is this like weird to see or whatever, like this show? And she like really didn't like it, man.
Oh,
like,
really? Interesting.
Yeah, she just was...
That makes sense.
But she doesn't come from the space of somebody who like is an advocate or whatever.
I can understand people
she's
not
just
liking
more like
it.
She doesn't like that people don't understand it, I think.
Yeah.
It's her like irritation.
Yeah.
When it's been her whole life. It's
True.
completely characterized her whole since he was born in like I think 2000. So he's like 26 now. And like all of the worry that she has like for what's going to happen when she's gone, and my whole family like is just like this is kind of a weird thing is pretty much like all of my assets when I go, because I haven't produced offspring, they're going to go to him, like his trust. Because out of everyone in my family, I'm just like, who would need it forever?
That makes sense.
Like he's 14 years younger than me or something like that. So I would hope that like it goes to better use. Like if I bite the bullet, that's if me and my wife both bite the bullet at the same time. Obviously I'm taking care of my wife first if I go, but if we both eat it, it gets emptied into this trust for him that she has guardianship over, that's supposed to transfer to his younger sister. Cause it's like, anyway, but, I remember her bringing up that show and she's like, it was a weird angle for her to like approach it. Cause I thought she'd either just hate it or whatever, but she's like, yeah, it just doesn't.
I get it not jiving with some people, but man, there's some lines in it that I'm like, God, I wish I could talk like that dude. He's awesome.
Yeah. My nephew's he's really into like video games. And so it's funny that me and my brother can keep up with him a little bit, but he gets so into weird stuff that I'm like, I've never played that.
I'm not tracking what you're saying
about. And nobody understands him because he's going like a mile a minute. And Brad's like, Brad's played like every fucking thing under the sun, So it's pretty funny to like watch us three interact. Cause we just like, I start talking faster about Ocarina of Time or whatever thing that he's like into. Yeah.
He's like, you're unlocking me. Here we go.
Yeah. All right. Let's get it. So where was I? Talking about this thing as a reanimator. It just wasn't filling up right. Like, I'm just like, I just don't get the mana to, not to divert again, but reanimation should be either happening frequently at a recursive cadence where I'm not out resources to recur this creature because I have some kind of engine online and the thing I'm recurring is either bringing me up above my opponents by way of adding resources to what I'm doing or tearing theirs down, right? Or happening at a rate and a timestamp that has no business happening at. That's how I view Reanimator.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that, I'm not so aligned with it. So either you're getting something out very early that's super threatening and game warping very early for a mana amount that you have no business doing it. It's dangerous in this meta because you have 3 hands full of removal kind of, or at least maybe 1 hand has a thing to deal with it. Or you end the turn and Mirren just brings it back to play. Like, it's just that simple. That's how I think Reanimator should happen here. Not, okay, well, I cast this creature and then he comes back and I go around the tile and I got pull him back to my hand and I mill 4 cards and now he's in my hand. And then, like, it's just way too much. So as I was thinking about this series, I'm looking at this bottom ability of I can cycle and recur everything out of my graveyard back into my hand. Now, if those things are creatures, I don't know if I'm so interested in them.
Yeah.
But if we fit this into this entire episode, let's just say they're the battery of things that we care about if we're trying to stay on the back foot. Things like those Harrows, the Harrow style ramp cards, shit like that, right? The far like the pre. I took it all the way up with this one because the mana just gets better and better and better the longer this game goes with his activated ability.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I've added like Prisha's Wandering and like even the ones that bring it to hand if I can take it, like Evolution Charm, and you happen upon a Glade. So I'm like, well, I'll make my land drop on my turn, but these also are bifunctional where they can recur Shigeki and pull him out of my yard. So this deck is extreme in its need to try to stay off your turn.
Okay.
And ramp and defend yourself for as long as you can. And eventually you'll reach a mana altitude where you're able to resolve banger creatures during your turn and they just kind of stick around a little better. If they get removed, then we kind of start the cycle over again. So it's pretty fucking awesome. I had a killer time playing it when the threat of a infinite is not looking at you, like just staring down. You're not looking at one. Like I can't go infinite, can't do it. But something like, I don't know, turn 4, you resolve a questing beast, pass, and then you go around the cycle and you're just mangling somebody's life total with a questing beast that's death touch and can't be blocked by power 2. So they can't chump the damn thing with creatures they don't care about. None of their mana dorks they can give away. Like, it's coming in and it's fucking vigilant. So it fits so many roles where I'm like, this is the kind of green I need where I'm able to stay with this thing and just kind of play through a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Or the Night Pack Ambusher, which is 4 mana for a 4/4. It has flash and it's almost screaming in your face to do the thing, right? Other wolves and werewolves you control get +1/+1. At the beginning of your end step, if you didn't cast a spell this turn, create a 2/2 green wolf creature token. So it'll make 3/3s for you because it has the Anthem effect.
Sure.
As long as you just don't do anything on your turn. You untap, you pass. You untap, you pass.
Yeah.
And you can block with these, unless they solve a trample situation or something or get flying, like these are just going to be in the way forever.
True.
They're going to have to go really wide. And if they do, then of course, like we have the battery of fogs that exist in this color. There's so many. So the trick is to have enough mana to pull things out of your graveyard, right? A card like, I don't know, yeah, like that you happen upon a glade is a really good one because it's flexible. But I don't know, like grapple with the past, right? It's 1 and a green, mill 3 cards, then you may return a creature or land card from your graveyard to your hand. Like this is really good with Shigeki. You Shigeki your cards back into your hand. You make sure you have enough to keep either one of them out of the graveyard, either this or that one.
Yeah.
And then pull it back. Peerless Recycling is cracked in this deck. It's 1 and a green. You can gift a card, which is they draw a card. Return target permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. If a gift was promised, instead return 2 target permanent cards from your graveyard to your hand. So he's going after the instance. These cards are getting him back. And as long as those two are seeing each other at some interval, whatever is in your yard, you have access to. So the mana cost is like driven down on a lot of these cards.
And
they're all at instant. Like the bulk of this, let me pull it up. Like the bulk of this is at instant speed.
I mean, there's some, like you mentioned, like, okay, just so you can get them, there's things like regrowth that are in here, right? But you're really aiming for instant speed. And what I like about this design is that with Shigeki's channel ability, like not too many of these things get away from you. And you can do stuff like the questing beast and it fits in a Shigeki deck.
Yeah. Yeah. There are creatures in here because it's forwarded to green, but yeah, there's 26 instants in the deck. A lot of them are like return thing from hand, but you've got things like Wilt, which is destroy target artifact or enchantment, cycle it. Curious Herd has been a pretty good card for me. It's 4 mana. Choose an opponent. You create X 3/3 green beast creature tokens where X is the number of artifacts they control. If you target somebody with their treasures and they have a lot of them, they either need to sack them or they're going to give you as many beasts that are ready to go on your turn.
Yeah.
Likely, if they're smart, they'll just sack them and you get nothing, but then you should get this thing back to your hand for somebody else. Like, it's actually a killer card. I love this thing. I like it. Sudden Reclamation is just a heavy-handed, like, mill 4 cards from your library and return a creature or a land card from your graveyard to your hand at instant speed. You happen upon the Tarask is a crazy fog, but it also, like, if someone's attacking somebody else, you have like a weird board wipe that they don't know is coming their way. 5 mana, you can run and hide, which is prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to you and to creatures you can control this turn. By the way, the Questing Bricks works really well with fog effects because its damage can't be stopped with your fogs. It will always be able to block. So you can fog and block with Questing Beast and it will still kill the thing that's coming your way. Cool. And everything that's running sideways from it that you didn't block with, they don't do anything. So you pick the best thing to take down and they don't trade. It just kills it. But the other side of this card is Gather Your Courage. Target creature gets +5/+5, gains indestructible until end of turn. All creatures your opponents control block this creature this turn, or that are able to, basically, like, if Kyle's sending, like, I don't know, a 3/3.
Yeah, it's a lure, Tiff, right?
I go, hey, it's now indestructible and it's +5, and Tiff, you have to block with everything.
Like, yeah, I mean, this is one of my Miss Bumbleflower cards because it's like,
so it's good.
If I need to fog, I can, but if I can get you to take down a bunch of creatures.
Yeah, it's not a good card, I think, a lot of the time. If you're not thinking like this, if you're playing stuff on your turn, it's 5 fucking mana. That's probably what people are saying. Like, it's 5 mana. But, like, I want you to just picture the hand. Shigeki's in hand. A way to return something is to hand. This thing is in hand. And I don't know, a random ramp spell that works at instant speed is in hand. It's only when this thing matters, you get that high of like, oh yeah, baby, I'm fucking hard. Yeah. Let's do this. And Barrel Tiff's board state is fucking crushed. Yeah. And Kyle's going to be like, well, I'm going to deal this much damage to this, and pick her best things and tear him out. Yeah. But if that doesn't happen and Kyle's swinging at me, I'm like, okay, well then I can fog out of this.
Like, no.
Yeah. So the game I played, and it's not in this deck because this one is actually budget. I actually wanted to keep the mana cost down to really like try this for the listener. It's $56, this list, without the basic lands.
Nice.
But the one I have in my list, I have this and I have Berserk. So I'm going to tell you about a scenario that happened. So Berserk is 1 mana instant. Target creature gains +X/+O, where X is its power, and then it's destroyed at the end of turn. Tiff was attacking Zach. Zach had a fuck ton of they were jacked up elves. It was his Galadriel list.
Sure.
And she's like, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to kill a lot of them, but we'll see, right? Like some of them will die, some of them won't. And she sends her Balefire Dragon at him. So it's a 6/6 that's flying.
Mm-hmm.
He blocks with his flyer, but I'm like, it doesn't have trample. Let's give it trample and double its size.
Yeah.
So I doubled the size of the Baleful Dragon. It becomes a 12/12 trample, crushes his thing out of the way. Because I told her, I'm like, we'll get through, we'll do it, let's do it. And she's like, I don't know how, but okay. And burned off his entire board. And then, just for good measure, destroyed her.
Yeah, now her thing at the end of the turn is gone too.
Which its burn effect isn't much for me, but it's still a fucking dragon, so it's out. And then right before my turn begins, I should Geki that shit right back to my hand.
You're like, so we can do that again if we need to.
Yes, dude. It was so good. That's kind of the thing I'm going for with this card. Is like it's a similar thing. It's a little heavier handed, but you know, I can say like I wouldn't normally run a card like this.
But again,
with this type of setup,
speed modal,
it
makes sense that it's 5 mana. But you're right; it requires this setup for it to hit its value, right?
Yeah. Another card that just works so hard with this stuff is the Galewind Moose. This fucking card in a deck like this, like normally it's like, that's nice or that's a surprise.
Yeah.
But here it's like, this is utility and I love it. It's 6 mana for a 6/6 elemental elk. It has flash. It has vigilance. It has reach. It has trample. This is like a perfect escape route of, oh, I guess I didn't need to do any of those things. I'm just going to push this out. It can attack whenever and it can block whenever and trample over stuff. It is an incredible thing of just like, okay, I'm releasing all of my green gas and letting this thing out. I'm off of my turn. You see?
Yeah.
So any chance to weave stuff like this in, I mean, like the Cloud Thresher, right? You can evoke it and it just deals 2 damage to each creature with flying and each player, but it's also just it's a 7/7 reach with flash. In any other deck, I just don't see you like wanting to draw a card like this. But when you have it up against the other options of, well, I got a fog, I got a ramp, I got a draw spell, I got a way to beast within. All right, I'm just gonna flash the Cloud Thresher out, and now I've got a 7/7 reach.
Yeah.
To add to my defense, and then harangue all of the flyers out of the way.
And it
all
makes
of their drakes are gone. Where's your swan song now, Talran? You just flash it in.
That's what I'm saying. Is something like that where like, okay, somebody's got all their fucking drakes. I'm just gonna evoke this in, and then if I want it back later for another 7/7, cool, I can get it.
Yeah. Ancient Stone Idol, kind of a similar idea. It's 10 mana for a 12/12 with trample, but it costs 1 list to cast for each attacking creature. And then when it dies, you get a 6/12, like you basically cut the power off and leave a 6/12 behind. And guess what? It's in your yard, and guess who can grab it? So it's a pretty fun list. I think it would train you to be like, all right, I really want to be off turn with this because a lot of these creatures have flash, and
there's a ton of instants.
And yeah, so what you'll end up doing a lot of your earlier turns is holding up mana, of course, and then shooting a ramp spell, quickly recurring that ramp spell, looking for another card to reconnect Shigeki back to hand. The graveyard is your most vulnerable spot with this deck. If somebody nukes your yard, you're going to be in trouble. There are instant speed green cards that like shuffle things back into play. I don't bother with that card that like pulls things out of exile. I don't mess with that thing. But like, you have ways to backflip out of a graveyard hate in green. I don't have them here with this. I just was like, I want them at the list to kind of cover most of the more common bases. Another neat thing is just like introducing permanents to this that are also in and of themselves their own routes. Like, let's say you were like, I don't need to ramp. I need to have something more active, or I need something else that's going to get me deeper into my library. Something like Mimic Vat is pretty dope, right? Something hits the yard and you're looking for just stuff like, rather than like going after a big, you're looking for things like something Witch Enchanter or a creature that draws a card. So you would have nothing to do. You just bring this into play. Or someone's attacking you and you bring us into play.
Yeah.
Or Hilda's Crown of Winter, which can tap a creature by paying 1 off your turn or none during your turn. But the big thing is that you can sacrifice it and draw a card for each tapped creature your opponent's control. So if they swing out on you or anybody, if Brad's sending 3-4 guys at Kyle, it's probably worth it to me to get into my deck and ditch this. And it's now a permanent. So most of the green cards like permanents out of your graveyard. It's now a permanent in my graveyard. Or the Oblivion Stone. I don't love this card because of how slow it is, but really what you're doing is you're committing 3 mana to board, presenting something that's a problem for your opponent that could blow up later. If they blow it up, fine, but that's one thing that I don't know if you really defend it or not, but really what's cool about it, and I think it fits like a glove in this deck because of the mana and just the activated nature of it. So 3 mana, you can activate and put a fate counter it's 3 mana for an artifact. You can pay 4 and put a fate counter on target permanent, or pay 5 and tap, sacrifice Oblivion Stone, destroy each non-land permanent without a fate counter on it, then remove all fate counters from all permanents. So I think it works just in so many different vectors of, it's only 3 mana, so if I've got a lot of mana captured over the course of the game, I can just put it out and hold it and not have to use it until it's the last second. And it's an instant speed board wipe in mono green, which that's hard to come by in any color, let alone mono green.
Yeah.
If I do have a permanent, let's say that goddamn moose, I'm pushed not to do anything before my turn, and I just give him the fate counter.
Sure.
That's that, right?
Sure.
Or my Wilderness Reclamation, which is probably one of the stronger cards in this deck. I never have to use it. It's always out there because I have my mana ready to go.
Yeah.
People don't swing at me. I think I'm okay. I'm not really I'm just kind of bumping along. And instead of using it, I loop my yard a little bit, ramp a little higher, draw a few cards if I can, that kind of thing. And just leave it out and then get to my turn, swing with my moose and then untap, swing with my moose and then pass the turn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And leave it for the turns to decide. I can't imagine a game for every player who's listening to this. I'm just trying to walk you through some things that seem to happen. I use attacking a lot because that's just something that, that's going to happen, but it could be a lot of stuff where, all right, I'm going to resolve some crazy enchantment.
Yeah.
And then they're ready to move on it. And you're like, let's just blow this thing right now. And it's an activated ability.
Yeah.
As soon as the thing's on the stack, they're like,
it's difficult to interact with.
Yeah. Sort of like a Croson Grip, another green player that's really ready for you. I don't know. Do you think that fits here? I don't ever use Oblivion Stone anymore. It's way too slow.
Yeah, you used to, but it's been a long time since I've seen it.
But
it makes sense here, and maybe it's a little headier than some of the other stuff talked about in this episode. But I think it makes sense that it fits into the idea of
it probably can go in a lot of these decks.
Yeah, your preference is to hold mana so that you can have flexibility of choice. And this provides you flexibility of choice.
It works good with this deck because they return permanents. A lot of these green cards, they say the word permanent.
This is maybe
it's mana intense.
This is maybe a good card to hold as an example, because we've talked about how playing at instant speed costs you mana.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe there's some level of evaluation people need to have as they go, because this one might push and challenge some people's mana a little bit, but again, this is a good spot for it though.
Yeah. When you think about the context I've laid out for you, if I handed you this deck and you got it down late, it's just a late game thing or even early, you're like, man, I just have so many weird options I can move out from underneath this activation. If I have to do it, fine.
Yeah.
But let's say you're I'll board wipe if they attack me.
Yeah.
And instead I swing out at Brad or something. And you're like, well, now let's do you gaze upon a Tarask or you look upon a Tarask instead.
Yeah.
And the outcome is the same. Both are 5 mana, one to blow the board, one to fucking ruin Brad's day for sure with this crazy creature coming his way.
And I can see that you were thinking about this from the other side because you have Nevin'ril's Disc, and I'm sure anybody would be having that question of why not just do Nevin'ril's Disc, but that's in your maybe board. And the nice thing about something like this is that you can shape the explosive, right? If the longer people wait to force this to happen, the more shaped it becomes in your favor.
Yeah. If you were going to move the budget up on this, which obviously mine is not budget, I've got that kind of stuff going on. Nev's Disc works really good with Heroic Intervention.
Yeah.
Because it destroys all and Nev's Disc survives that event. That's really fucking strong with a commander who doesn't exist, who's in your hand, who will just pull the one card you need out of the graveyard, which is a heroic intervention, and you've demonstrated a morale victory again. Of, I have enough mana. If anybody tries to produce anything more into board, I'm just going to clip it every cycle. So I left that out here because those cards are expensive.
Sure.
Or fuck, even the Tamiyo safekeeping style things, like that'll keep your disc intact, where you Tammy, Samio, whatever, safekeeping that thing. It stays, the Nev's disc is around, or the Apex Altasar. That's a combo too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apex Altasar ETBs, you give it the indestructible, and it just starts fighting forever.
Yeah.
And then you've shown, okay, but I have this in my hand. Whenever I'll recur it back.
Yeah.
So he's one hell of a way to step away from a time walk, because you can reach everything that you wanted to shoot them before.
That's true.
That's the value I saw as we were working through it. As I'm talking to Micah, I'm like, I really just feel like I should be at instant speed for whenever I can. So flash creatures if I can.
Yeah.
Even these dumb ramp spells. We know that Cultivate's just a better ramp spell than Prisha's Wandering or Natural Connection, but they're not, you can't hold them up. And these you can. Where you can at the last second decide what needs to help or harm you or harm your opponents.
Yeah.
And exit through that. And then no matter what, you've got this thing where it's like, well, these were worth it before. I'm going to reclutch them back into my hand. The thing that does slow you down is trying to find those cards that bring him back. You can be a Cavalier if your play group just doesn't manage yards well.
Sure.
Then let it go to yard.
Sure.
If Bajuka Bog is as far as graveyard hate goes in your commander
group.
play group, then you're probably okay. Like, he's probably the only thing down there, and he can just rezone, and it's not that big of a deal.
I think that's true.
It's just kind of a long journey to get him from zone to battlefield, back to hand. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah, I think this is well suited, this construction here, and pushes some thinking as another way that you can be thinking about playing on the back foot.
Yeah. I think that's it. I think we covered this.
All right.
I don't even know if I should just call this. I don't know if we call this Spellslinger or not, but I wanted to squeeze this in to this whole series. My Shigeki deck, it has like, this bigger green. It has big green creatures. It has Lumra and like just big ass green creatures as the threat.
This is a good illustration of what we talked about when we first started this series, that it's not always obvious if you actually are playing Spellslinger, because sometimes, there's something else going on in your deck that might be the primary focus, but you still end up with a lot of instants and sorceries. I think that's just part of doing Spellslinger. Sometimes it is just obvious that you're doing a classic Spellslinger. I'm a fucking wizard.
Yeah, it's cool.
And other times it's like, I'm a druid. Like, there's some creatures here, but I'm also still slinging spells.
But I'm slinging spells, yeah. And I think the timing is something that you can take advantage of. The game isn't super fitted to do this. I think we're just kind of close to banger sorceries and banger creature ETBs, but you can also see they're trying to pull it back to, activate this only once and activate it only as a sorcery.
Yeah.
You can see they're just like, this is getting kind of annoying. Like, we probably need to rein this in and take it off the timing. What is next? I think we have a review.
We are, as we record, I don't think we are fully spoiled, but close.
Yeah.
So watch for the sign up forms for those of you who are Patreon supporters. As a reminder, we go down the tiers in terms of offering the opportunity to sign up to participate in the Legends review.
Mm-hmm.
So Tech Tutor first, Will of the Council, we'll get it a day or two later, and then our ad destroyers will be.
If you want to review Simic Legends, you can do the cheap tier. You'll get them.
That's true. There is, for whatever reason,
they just don't
a
touch
hatred
them.
For Simic Legends among our supporters. So they tend to not get picked
They
up.
leave them not reviewed, and then they're just there. Some people are like, fine, I'll do it.
I usually put the other 99 review form out to everybody into Gen Pop. There's no tier system with that. Usually I'll wait for another week. I like it when people have had a chance to maybe get to a pre-release and think about the cards a little more with those other 99s. So that'll be out there as well. Do you have more with this series? I with my hubris, didn't think you would go all the way up against Secrets of Strixhaven with the series. Do you have more?
I think it's a good time for it.
It is a good time
people
for it.
can like look at it. I do. I want to get listeners' decks.
I was going to say, I will pick up listeners' decks, but I don't want to like rush you if you've got more to say.
Yeah, I say we kind of pass through the review season.
Okay.
And then I do that on the other side of it.
Okay.
So we'll collect our, tech tutors. We'll look at your decks. We'll talk about them.
Yeah.
Our Patreon patronage. So I want to like review some of them and critique them from the lens I see Spellslinger as. Not that I'm right. The framework I've kind of laid out here seems to make sense. And I'm wondering like what people can do.
Yeah, for sure.
I'll want like kind of a smattering like you did with the enchants lists and stuff like that. And
we did that with Voltron as well.
Yeah, right. I think that's a good way to cap it off is like just see what the people are doing.
Okay.
And compare it to this.
So look for that solicitation in the Discord sometime.
Cool.